Hello everybody and welcome to the semi-final Saturday, and it is going to be now the match number 2, still featuring one of the two greatest players here at the Welsh Open. John Higgins is once again going to be competing to try and get another addition added to that fantastic trophy collection at the Welsh Open. He's got 5 of those already, but can he try and make it all the way against someone that is going to be finally with a ranking event title? Jack Lisowski now making their way onto the arena. It's both of the players, and it is going to be Jack to get us on the way with the first break-off shot. So then, I feel like this has got an exciting match written all over it in every single universe, but you never quite know which Jack Lisowski you're going to see there, but you always know that you are going to see a very consistent, a very good playing, and well, potentially a semi-final winning John Higgins as well, as the break-off shot is finally done. So then, let's see the way this is going to go. And certainly looking forward to seeing this one. As I say, the fact that Barry Hawkins managed to become a little bit of the underdog story, especially, we've seen Mark Williams and Neil Robertson trying to convince him before playing in this week. And look at that, planned out. He's managed to beat both of them. And now he's going to be playing in the final stage. So for the sake of it, to be fair, as much as I say, 80% now for Higgins. So that's not quite as bad as 92, but I'll tell you what, Jack Lisowski, he's got loads of, cash to play for, realistically. If you want to call it for what it is. For now, it's a long shot available for Higgins. He hasn't got so much cash to play for, but now he's certainly going to be playing for a frame here. Brilliant start there from John Higgins. One shot that he's played, Jack Lisowski, and already he could still be spending the next couple of minutes sat in his chair. Brilliant long shot. Once again, you can see that he was playing this one super straight, and yet the cue ball managed to bounce away off the black ball cushion nicely. Didn't touch the jaws, which would have killed any momentum on the white. And you can see tournament highest break still very much holding on there to John Higgins after a fantastic break of 144 points. Then he managed to score in the previous couple of rounds. And now it's going to be all about, the start really, because we've seen a couple of those comebacks before. We've seen great drama, but on the majority of those occasions, especially when you talk about someone as John Higgins and Jack Lisowski to an extent as well, they need to have an early lead very much set up for themselves. Higgins is going to be working on that. And of course, if Lisowski is to lose, then it will be Mark Cullen that gets the desired 150,000 worth of home nation bonus. So Mark Cullen is going to be the biggest John Higgins fan, by the way. I'm not sure Barry Hawkins has got a preference, but Mark Cullen certainly does. It's one of those things that you just want one of those opponents to win over the other one so that you get the money. It's a beautiful feeling there, but of course, if Jack Lisowski is to get control for this match, it will turn into a horrible feeling for Alan, which I'm pretty sure he's going to be watching this match. So then, once again, on the ping lines up there, John Higgins. So trying to get third cue ball lines up on the reds. Using that pocket very wide there. We've seen that backfire a couple of occasions before with Weeze and Barry Hawkins in the previous semi-final. But nothing doing so far for John Higgins. That has got a bit of a weird position here, because as much as he's got a couple of those reds very much available next to his name, you also have to say he's got the black covered up. The pink is only going to be possible into the left diagonal from the left middle onto the right corner. And then the blue, of course, is going to be quite far away from those reds. So I'm going to have to wait and see on the way that this is going to go. But for now, nicely played there. Trying to hold it for the pink, which, surprises me, because I said it's only going into the left middle on the right corner. Higgins clearly suggesting that he'll go into the left corner as well, though he needs to have a look at it. And to be fair, at the same time, he's just having the situation with the left corner. Quarterfinals, best of luck. I don't know why they decided to try and put that, but yeah, Jack Lisowski managed to beat Stuart Bingham, and John Higgins managed to beat Joey Long. I don't know, that was a really random stat there to be showing, but fair play. Yeah, of course, John Higgins managed to have a good campaign against someone that, was seen as a bit of a threat, once again, competing for that home nations bonus. Joey Long needed to win the tournament, but didn't even manage to get himself into the semi-final stage for that to be the case. And Jack, of course, he's going to have 100,000 worth of ranking points as well for him to try and hold on to, as he makes the world number 24, and he's currently sitting at the world number 22 spot. Higgins himself is going to be looking to try and win the tournament, and that will make him go back to the world number 5 there and dispatch the reigning world champion Jousington out of the World Open Tour Championship and then the World Championship as well. Although he needs that cue ball to slow down before it reaches the blue, and I'm not sure that was the intention for him, but it certainly doesn't look like it's worked out badly there for Higgins. Got my tickets for the inaugural John Vigor Trophy here where Irish Master used to hold, Ronnie versus Hendry, and Williams should be a bit of crack. Yes, I've heard that one, but I only hear about it because of the social media from Ronnie's point of view. I've heard about it, like it should be starting in a couple of days' time, so yeah, as I say, I've got absolutely no idea about it. I know that it's going to have Higgins, Hendry, I feel like he's going to be there as well, and then Ronnie himself is going to be playing, but I was very surprised to see, and I don't actually know if I'm going to comment it in a negative or a positive way. Ronnie has announced himself, or the World Seniors Championship announced that he will be competing this year at the World Seniors Championship, which I thought was a bit weird, because it's only going to be held a couple of days after the actual World Championship is going to enter the Crucible. So does he feel like he's not going to go all the way? Is it going to be a different story? April 12th, I think. Now, must have been thinking about something else there, because the tournament that I was thinking about must start in a couple of days' time. So, fair play. And yeah, one of those things that if Ronnie is going to be playing, you know, it's never a guarantee, but then enjoy it. You know, you never quite know how many more of those tournaments we're actually going to see there. And meanwhile, John Higgins still very steady on the break, trying to get this red very much lines up into the left corner for him to be taking. And just having a very cautious look towards the pink as well, which needs to be placed perfectly for him. So once again, trying to hold it for the pink, which is going to be probably the main factor of John Higgins trying to score those points. By the way, I would expect this one to go a lot quicker than the previous match, as much as you know, Barry Hawkins and Weezer had one of those weird semi-finals where you've seen pretty much everything there. High quality, high drama, you know, high breaks at times as well, but just had a bit of a weird feeling towards it at the end with, you know, Barry Hawkins actually playing a bit of his bad game during the midpoint of that match, and Weezer playing pretty much the form of his life there. And then at the end of the match, after the re-rack, as John Higgins plays a wonderful shot, getting those reds to be separated away from the main bunch. And as long as he's going to be on the reds, which, I mean, I hope he is now, lines up on into the left corner, he should be, to be fair. Back-to-back seniors and World Championship titles for Ronnie this year. We could always dream, you know, I'm pretty sure in a parallel universe that will be the case, but listen, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't really care about the World Seniors Championship if, you know, if he was to win the number 8, make it a magic number as he calls it in China. So, you know, he's got 8 Masters crowns, he's got 8 of the UK Championships. If he wants to make it 24, 8 of each, then it'll be the perfect thing for him to try and end his career. Not to suggest that it would happen. As I say, we've got some great competition coming up for him, and you know, he's not really going to have the sort of luxury of last year, if you want to call it, where he had all those ranking seeds for him to be very much available, with the great draw there for him to be the world number 5. And look at that for a mistake by John Higgins. It looked like it was an ordinary shot on the blue for him to be taken, but somehow he got this one horribly wrong. I mean, I'm not going to say somehow. He did run himself over the sort of optimal angle for that blue, but still would have expected him to get that blue in. In the end, that wasn't the case, but may have been a bit of a blessing in disguise, to be fair, because of how the cue ball has managed to go down the lower end of the table. Probably doesn't leave anything away to Jack. And let's see what is it going to be now. And what it should be is John Higgins trying to get that cue ball onto the left part of the table again, and just get himself set up through the side cushion to have that cue ball to bounce. So once again, just having a look towards it, he should have a really good chance to try and get that cue ball in behind the yellow, brown and blue combination, which are going to be quite close to each other, but you still probably feel like it is going to be a bit of a problem for him to try and get it in the optimal zone. And look at that, lovely to see. Where's the cue ball going? A little tribute there to the absolute legend of the game, John Baker. Yeah, absolutely lovely stuff there to see from the crowd. As much as it is sad, it's still very nice to be seeing that the legend will leave on Certainly on the shorts, but also in the memories of many snooker fans, me included. So then it is going to be back to Jack Lisowski here after a decent shot from John Higgins. As I say, I feel like he was playing for that cannon of the yellow and brown to try and get the cue ball in behind of, but certainly didn't manage to play that shot too well. And now the danger with Jack Lisowski is always going to be the factor of, you leave him half a millimeter of a space and he'll make a mile out of it. So he's got 2 long shots available. And you know what they mean. It's a really good chance for Jack to try and get his scoring on the board. But just needs to make sure he got the first one right. Oh, I mean, he's taken the more difficult one to clearly try and go for the positional play instead. And that didn't work out here. So, yeah, I would have expected him to try and take that red onto the right side cushion. But, of course, wasn't the case. And he's going to be back to John Higgins. And the same red is certainly going to be potable for John. And once again, I mean, the semi-final of 2018 to be repeated, it will be a great story for someone that has been so successful at the Welsh Open versus someone that, only won 4 ranking titles in his career. Of course, a bit of a contrast to 33 for John Higgins. Now just looking towards the left side of the table where he would like that cue ball to travel towards. Getting himself lined up on the blue. So if that cue ball is going to go all the way past those reds, then you may as well try. Once again, it depends on how much of the angle he's got here, but you may as well try and play that cue ball into the black because he's going to have the pink over the pocket, which should leave him with an extra flexibility on that. And a bit of a weird one, to be fair. Once again, he's played for the pink clearly because he wasn't going to be on the green or the blue for them to be in the way of each other. He was nowhere near to be on the brown. So the intention was to play for the pink, but seems to have put himself under a little bit of scrutiny here. So he's going to need the extension surely. I'm not going to say that he's going to need the rest for a certain because the blue being, the cue ball, sorry, being alongside the blue ball spot. May be able to reach that one. Yeah, but yeah, of course, John Higgins has the higher rated seed and especially the form that he's had and he's shown this season already. He's going to be the favourite for this match, but never underestimate Jack Lisowski and his ability to be winning frames for fun. I mean, ask someone like Stuart Bingham, who's lost out 4 frames on the bounce to him before coming back to losing out the match 5 frames to 2. And now the pink about to be taken, didn't play it straight into the pocket and may need the rest once again. And well, this time around, it does seem like he's a bit unsettled there, Higgins, with his position. And I feel like once again, the damage was done on the first shot that he's played. Once again, he got the pink in, which is nice, but the pink was over the pocket. This time around, the red is not going to be over the pocket. And he also needs to make sure the cue ball is going to travel enough there for him to be lined up on the next colour, which you don't really have loads of options to choose from. Has to be either pink or black at this stage. Black is going to be covered up by the red, which narrows it down to the pink. But once again, easier said than done. And just keep an eye on this one. The red may still be missed, especially with how awkward it looks for Higgins to be bridging over and trying to reach towards this cue ball. This can still stay out, and therefore it will be a chance for Jack. And whoa, look at that. I mean, he's got the red in the wrong pocket. He's got the cue ball into the same pocket. And I mean, at least he hasn't left anything away for Jack Lisowski. And technically, he's taken one of those reds away. So that's probably a bonus of a shot that he's played. But still, yeah, as I say, the red stayed out of the pocket and then pushed another red to drop into the corner pocket. But the cue ball couldn't be held on the table, so it all happened there at the same time. At the end, it's going to be 4 points away given to Jack Lisowski, but ultimately it's 4 points lost at this stage because now it's going to be 75 points down on the table. And just having one more look to see what is it actually going to be there from Higgins, because if he is to try and somehow get himself lined up for journey back to the table, then it has to be right here, right now. So just looking at the weight once again. Nice little club there with support shown, as I say to the commentator legend. And this time around, another legend is going to try and take a long shot. Look at that. Brilliant response. I mean, I expected this style to be very much Jack Lisowski, but right now it is John Higgins that finds all the long shots. Pretty unlucky with that one, though. The cue ball is going to be straight onto the ball cushion, and not sure if Higgins is not happy with someone in the crowd there being too loud. or is just a bit of a precautionary look towards the referee. It is going to be brown ball, which is surprising to me. So let's have a look what's going to happen now. Surely he needs to try and block all the pace away. It wasn't the case. He's trying to roll the cue ball behind the blue. And I tell you what, if he hasn't done enough there, he's left a really good chance away to Jack. And it could be going from bad to worse there from Higgins. Well, he's left this one on there. This is going to be a bit of a bad shot to leave on for Jack. And he still missed it. I mean, could we see another Stuart Bingham performance as we've seen yesterday? Like, he wasn't up to speed at all. Jack mentioned in his post-match interview that he didn't really focus too much on that, but he's got around 0 out of 4 shots that he's played there in terms of his pot success. And once again, as much as this wasn't easy, you still would have expected this one to go in, especially when trying to force that cue ball on for the pink. Probably would have not been on the colour anyway, but I mean, didn't really get that far. So then 45 points is the advantage for Higgins, and he's still going to be very much the man at the table, trying to take the red into the right middle. He's certainly going to be playing for the pink here, and at this stage, it should certainly be sorted now for John to try and get this frame very much under his belt, and take it as at 52 points of an advantage, and then just get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the right corner. He only needs a couple more of those because this red will get him 53 points clear, and then just ensure that Jack won't be coming to the table with a mindset to try and steal this one away and make it something like 58 points of an advantage or so. Just takes that red nicely, so it is now going to be the first frame away for John. And look at that for a shot, brilliantly played for the blue, and he's still got a really good chance to try and hold it for the last couple of reds for him to be lined up with a confident frame win. And as I say, the only points that Jack has managed to score were the ones given away with a foul shot, where Higgins managed to pop the reds and the cue ball into the pocket that he didn't really aim towards anyway. So then you can see now 58 points advantage, 51 at the table, so it's 2 snookers needed as it stands. But at this stage, it shouldn't be too much of an issue for Higgins just to try and drop this red away and then make it breaks of 41 and 14 points to ensure that Jack will have to settle to try and do something about it in the second frame. In the meantime, he's going to try and hold it for the yellow here. The thing about Lisowski, though, he needs to be making sure he gets himself into rhythm quickly. Otherwise, he may be in a little bit of a trouble later on. And that may be the exact story that John Higgins has got lined up ahead of himself. So then takes the yellow nicely. About to get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the corner. And look at that. Brilliant kiss off the black. And as much as he's probably not going to be able to take the black and the red at the same time, still gets himself lined up nicely on the black here to be taken 7 extra points. Of course, if you had a bit of the different angle on the pink, I feel like you would have taken that shot into the middle. But from this point, you just take 7 points and then, you know, hammer that cue ball to go all around the table. I mean, he's still trying to go for the pink, which probably would require him to hit that shot with maximum backspin. And he's tried to do that, fair play. You know, avoids that cue ball to be heading towards the pocket, but you can see, trying a bit of a trick shot. Not sure that was planned, or it was a bit of an exhibition anyway. Trying to play that cue ball into the cushion and then into the red. Gets himself with a break of 23 points, which will get him over the line quite nicely. It is now the first frame that goes the way of John Higgins. And it's now Jack Lisowski that needs to try and find his rhythm to come back with some sort of answer. Otherwise, it'll be Higgins to run away. And it certainly seems to be probably the story of the first frame here. And yeah, when it comes to the odds being in favour of either one of those two players, then you always have to sort of favour the top seeded player there. And 136 right now as it stands, so probably 160 before the match has started. 155, I should say. 320 right now for Jack to be the winner. Probably a bit harsh, but, you know, with the way the first frame has gone, he probably can't say that that's going to be wrong. And a little bit of the head-to-head as well. The only match this season that they've played, and the only match in 3 years, really, was, well, exactly in 3 years. The last meeting before that was on the 1st of March in 2023, which is going to be 2 years tomorrow in the Championship League, which is a bit weird to be seeing a Championship League to be played at the March But anyway, British Open was the only meeting between the two of them this season. Of course, a tournament that Higgins managed to reach the semi-final stage before losing out to the compatriot of Anthony McGill and defeating the likes of Jack Lisowski and Zhao Xington in the opening couple of rounds before going on to defeat Louis Heathcote, Ben Mertens, and as I say, losing out to Anthony McGill in the last four stage, which of course he's managed to reach for the fourth time this season. As I say, British Open was one, and then he had the final of the International Championship, winner of which tournament has already been knocked out, much to the secret delight there, I would say, from Higgins' point of view, as much as he probably won't admit it. But with all the respect to Barry, you know, either Jack or Higgins would have probably preferred to be facing Barry because, you know, you always know what you're going to get with him. You know that he's going to be there to play, and he may still turn up to be a very dangerous player for you to beat. But with Wu Yize, I mean, especially the form that he's had to come back from 4-1 down back to 4-all, you just feel like, you know, he can lose 7 frames on the bounce and he can still come back and win 8 more on the bounce there. Just ask Neil Robertson and English Open in 2024. So then it's a break-off shot that doesn't seem to go too well there for John. And, well, he needs to keep an eye on this red. And I'll tell you what, Jack Lisowski is certainly going to be keeping an eye on this red there next to the middle. It's quite marginal, though, in terms of the cue ball placement being right next to the yellow spot, but so much closer to the ball cushion. And the red is just about going to be on the line there. So I feel like probably not worth to be taking a risk for, especially after such a difficult start to this match. But Lisowski thought against it, and that's why I said it wasn't really worth taking the risk on, because, you know, he got the red in, which was a brilliant mission, but he got the cue ball to drop into the left corner at the same time. So in pool, in the American pool, he probably would classify it as double points there. Not necessarily in snooker, he won't be. That's going to be 4 points given away to John Higgins. So once again, Jack is still yet to get his own certified points very much on the board. The cue ball is going to be heading towards the yellow and bounce away onto the ball cushion. So once again, back to Jack Lisowski it goes. Jack needs to try and get his own rhythm going, because you can't play like that against John Higgins. And honestly, this is why I genuinely have a feeling, even now at this stage, if he is able to turn the page, well, I'm not going to say, I'm going to change my mind right now as we speak, because he played that shot with so much power. I mean, off the side cushion, there was no need to be taking such a risk. I mean, he got away with it, but I mean, had he managed to miss the main contact point of one of those reds, he would have been leaving a red over the pocket there for Higgins. So has to be careful with that. And as I say, it's all about mindset for me. Jack is certainly more than capable of beating John, but you know, you always know what you're going to get with John Higgins. You're going to get a battle. You're going to get 100% worth of effort. Not sure you can say the same about Jack, though. I mean, I'm not sure if it was him that I was actually listening to a post-match interview, and he said, "Yeah, I'm always trying. It may not look like it, but I certainly am." May have been Mark Williams as well, but may have been Neil Robertson, to be fair. I'm not sure, but it's been one of those three. So then for now, it's a really good shot there that Jack manages to find. A cross double, but the way that he's played that on the spin to get that cue ball away from the jaws of the left corner, manages to play this one super well. And now it's going to be down to Higgins to try and do something about this one. Yeah, he's going to have a look towards one of those reds to be taken into the corner. And I'll tell you what, this may actually be his best chance, because I mean, as much as there is going to be a minor part of that red sticking out, I say he's probably going to need 3 chances. Oh, this is a horrible miscue, and he's going to be heading straight into the pink. Has he left a chance? Yes, he certainly has. And this is going to be quite a costly miscue there. We've seen one of those from Barry Hawkins when he was leading 4 frames to 1. By the point that he came back to the table, it was already 4 frames each there. Higgins, of course, will be hoping for a bit of a different changeover. And you can see there's such a similar shot to the one we've seen from Trump in the German Masters. Felt like that was in the final against Murphy. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty unlucky to catch the ping from there, but still, it just ensures that he's going to be total point score for Lisowski, but he hasn't scored any of those himself. He's about to one now. So he gets that red into the right middle. Clearly wasn't too happy with the position that he had on another red to be taken into the right corner, which was an easier part, but he was down to just trying to get himself lined up with a positional play, which he doesn't really seem to have got anyway from playing for the blue. He needs to try and get that cue ball across to the left part of the table, and surprisingly to me, I mean, tried to do the opposite, so he's gone for the right part of the table instead. That suggests that one of those reds is going to be heading towards the left corner, but I mean, surely that's going to be a bit of a too much for him to ask from the cue ball, although he's managing to play this shot absolutely spot on, and he needs to be doing that now before he's going to be able to clear the pink spot from those reds, make it playable into the left middle, probably why he's about to take one of those reds away into the right corner. And one thing I would say, though, I haven't got a horse in the race at all. You know, would love Jack to be playing Barry because it'll be a very exciting final, and know that for sure. But as much as that, I probably would still love to see John Higgins winning one more ranking event title before inevitably, whether it's going to be next year or in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time, he will be there to finish his career. And you always, you know, you never quite know how many more tournaments those legends will compete for. And, you know, Ronnie O'Sullivan hasn't won a tournament in 2 years now, as far as I'm aware. You know, his last trophy came at the 2024 Masters. You know, it's been a while since then. Now he's going to be lined up for another red there. Jack had to be taking the pink on the right side rail. And it seems like he's going to have a bit of the distance between the cue ball and the red to try and take into the left corner. So seeing a couple of those shots missed before, this one is not going to be missed though. And this is more like it from Jack. You know, able to find those shots from absolutely nowhere and still get them very much to the desired destination for his own. So bound to take the pink away into the right middle. So play this one. Make sure you miss the front jaw. And he didn't miss that front jaw. As I say, the back end jaw is always going to be a bit more lenient towards you. But whatever you do, and from any angle really, unless you play that with absolutely no pace, which wasn't the case here, you're not allowed basically to rule, and written rule in snooker, you're not allowed to touch the front jaw of the middle pocket. And that's exactly the mistake that we've seen from Jack. So ends the break on just 20 points scored. Puts the pink away though, onto the left side cushion. So he had the luxury of playing for the pink and the blue, although it was only one of those shots really that he played it. And now he's going to have John Higgins with the position there of both colours and the blue available next to him. Of course, the fact that he's going to be 22 points down is going to matter, because that leaves him pretty much needing all of those reds, apart from maybe a couple of exclusions. He's not going to miss this blue. And I tell you what, the reds that I was talking about were next to the black. And in one shot time, John Higgins manages to bring this position from being horrible to being really nice to him as well. Look at that for a shot. Brilliant split of 4 reds away. The black is going to be freed up. He's got a clear red that he can try and take into the corner. No clue why he's played the shot this way. We clearly didn't have the black to be available into the right corner. So that, of course, that's going to ruin his plans. Had to play with backspin, caught the black on the way down. And now he, all of a sudden, the black that looked like it was going to be such a simple shot. He probably still would expect him to pot it, but it's not quite as comfortable as he could have been. The black is still going to be in. And let's see the position on one of those reds. Once again, he's going to have to use the easier red away into the right corner. And I tell you what, as much as the second frame has been slightly better from Jack, still clearly not been good enough for him to be a real challenger, for this frame to be his for the taking there. And if you go still 0 down against someone like Higgins, well, it's going to be 8 frames minimum that John Higgins hasn't lost in this tournament on the bounce now. And that will leave Jack in a very problematic position at that stage. For now, about to take another red, which he misses there. Higgins, well, probably the first real mistake that we've seen from John in this match in terms of the pot success. I know he had a red missed and fluked alongside the cue ball, but that was a really difficult shot for him to be taking. This one, he actually thought he would be able to get it 8 times out of 10. It's a horrible shot by Lisowski, though. He just can't find any sort of rhythm. He may have got away with this one, though, and didn't leave anything easy away to Higgins. But, I mean, once again, it's a bit of a light switch there. There's no grey. There's either black or white there with Lisowski, and he's either going to be on top of his form or playing absolute I'm not going to say the exact word, but not playing very well, to put it lightly. And he seems to be very much in the black zone right now. And on the dark side of his form, you know, sometimes you can use the best of your performance in the previous couple of rounds. But as I said, don't feel like he's got anything extraordinary to speak for. I mean, Bingham wasn't playing well. Yes, Lisowski was, you know, averaging really good breaks, but the fact that he wasn't able to get over the line sooner probably has to be a bit of a problem of his own. Now then, Higgins has taken a difficult raid into the left corner, but he's missed it. So gives the turn once again back to Jack Lisowski. So this time around, is he going to be able to get through to the raid next to the left corner? Because this one can be rolled in. And at the same time, as I say, I'm not sure from this angle, but he should be able to try and play around the black. Get himself lined up nicely on the blue. If the black is not going to be potable. Into the left corner, which is probably going to be the only target area. Once again, you very rarely see that from Jack when he's gone down to hit the shot twice, but back down every single time and just wants to see the way that he's got this one lined up for himself. So about to take for the third time. Can he see enough of this raid? Well, it looks like he can, but clearly something doesn't feel right about this one. And the cue ball is going to be heading nicely for the blue, and he's made that red in. So then, 9 points advantage, and Lisowski's still very much in this frame here. He's not quite going to be in a dominant force that he could have been had he not missed that ping previously. But at least he's still very much in there with a shout. And yeah, if try and take the blue with it being super straight though, I mean, how on earth are you going to be able to get onto any one of those reds? I mean, he's not going to be able to use backspin, so forget about that. He needs to just force that cue ball with the absolute powerhouse of a shot and get them. Well, get the cue ball. He's got two options here as he plays that blue. And I was going to say he's got two options of either trying to play it into the back of three reds, which he has done, and he's done pretty well, or try and potentially send that cue ball all the way for one of the reds on the lower end of the table next to the black ball cushion. So then, 14 points advantage, a couple more reds available. The black probably still being out of position doesn't really help the case. And you can see there, not possible into the right corner, and with the way that he wasn't playing for it on the previous shot, probably is not possible into the left corner either. So just try and get this one into the left corner with the red, and then clearly he's going to be playing for the blue here. The good news is, and that's exactly the good news he's going to use here, is that he could have allowed himself to play on the wrong side of a blue because of one of those reds to be right next to the ball cushion and also quite close to the yellow pocket at the same time. Now this is going to be a real shout for Jack to try and get himself a 50 points of an advantage or something. He's got 20 of those, and by the point that he scores 30 more points, he should have something around, you know, 43 points available and left out on the table. For now, he takes that red nicely into the yellow pocket, gets himself positioned for either yellow or brown. Probably not ideal on either one of those two, but he still should be able to try and get this one down the table for the red to be taken into the left corner. And well, he clearly tried to force that cue ball around for it to have a longer journey, but I'm not sure that was ever going to work out because of the black being in the way. To be fair, he was quite close for him to be able to be lined up on this red into the left corner, but with that not being the case, I mean, realistically, does it make sense for him to be taking the red now into the left middle? He's not going to be able to be on the black. He's not going to be able to be on the pink, and he's got no chance of playing with such enormous power for the blue, but watch him do it now. He's probably not going to be playing a shot at all. Certainly should be the short selection for him. That's the case. So John Higgins just trying to get rid of any flies or insects there on the table. But as I said, not quite going to be 50 points of advantage, but still 25 points with 75 of those still remaining at the table. It's not too bad. It's certainly not great news for Jack. But the fact that, you know, after a couple of chances from John Higgins, still very much going to be the favourite for this frame. Probably is not going to sound too bad. Just try and make it down to one of those lower reds. Play that cue ball away and onto the reds, onto the left side cushion. Play that one pretty well. But you should have pretty much an identical shot to play very soon. Because the problem with that shot is always going to be you're playing catch-up and you're committed to playing catch-up. That cue ball just needs to miss the green pocket. I'm not sure why Lisowski trying to accelerate that one so much that he's gone towards the green pocket, caught the jaws, and still managed to bounce away lower than the baulk line here. So, yeah, he could have put a bit more distance in between the cue ball and those reds, and more distance means more chance for an error to be seen by John. So let's see if this one is going to go all the way and just try and guide that cue ball closer to the green pocket once again. Is he going to be able to leave it in a position for a long shot? I mean, if the black was possible, probably have to say yes, but with it not being possible, is there going to be any realistic value in taking the red on? And you can see there the face reaction from Jack just saying, well, that's what I'm thinking, but clearly the answer is going to be no to me, or is it going to be no? And another thing that doesn't really help the case is going to have to be the factor of, you know, he can't really see any other option for a straightforward safety, so probably needs to utilize this red anyway. And, I mean, I can't really see the way that he's going to play a safety of it, which suggests that he's going to go for a long shot. He's gone for it. He's missed it. Where's the red going to finish? Next to the green, bounce away and be left over the right middle. So once again, 0 out of 4, you would see with the long shots from Jack's point of view. It certainly doesn't look like he's enjoying his game for now. The good news is, it's still probably going to be a huge challenge for Higgins to try and get the frame one from this visit to the table. Tournament long pot success, 45%. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's gone down 20% since the start of this match. How many he's missed already? Yeah, as I say, this red should be a sitter, but it just depends which colour Higgins is going to be playing for. Ooh, I mean, I'm surprised with that. I'm very surprised with that. He was trying to play for the blue, but I mean, Higgins must be very disappointed with himself because, I mean, I said it was a sitter. It's really not a red that you should be missing, really, from that point of view. And he was always heading towards the front jaw, which, once again, rule number 1 when you play shots like that, make sure you don't hit the front jaw at all. You don't touch it. And Jack Lisowski there, once again, straight away, trying to get himself lined up for the ready to the left corner. Always all-out attack there from Jack. Didn't work out here either. His pot success, by the way, must be absolutely dreadful, but because that's not going to be the prime thing for him to worry about. He needs to try and get this frame on the board. And if he does it in a scrappy way, then he can try and always do it in a much better way in the next couple of frames' time there. Once again, Higgins catching that red way too thick, but it's actually worked out pretty nicely for him. Apart from putting that red perfectly onto the side cushion, at least he didn't leave it away. And the red been caught slightly differently. Would have been easily over the middle. So then Jack has got the yellow to be covering up the left part of the table. Well, I mean, the left side cushion really, because you've got 5 of those reds, 4 of them, to be super close to the left side cushion. So he's about to take the second closest to the cue ball. Seems to have taken all the pace away. Not sure that was the right idea, because that's going to give a chance away for Higgins to try and just cannon that red away from the top end of the table. And that's exactly the place where you want that cue ball to be planted. So in the meantime, Higgins is going to try and consider all of his options. As I say, I felt like that's a no-brainer to me. And well, to be fair, clearly thinking about the cue ball a lot more than those Romanian reds, but he needs to realise, Higgins, he's in a position of a frame where Jack Lisowski doesn't need every single one of those reds. He does. So, I mean, he clearly was focusing on the cue ball, but at the same time, he clearly didn't focus on it enough for him to be leaving another long shot away. We've seen 4 missed. Are we going to see a 5th one made? Nope. 5th one missed now. Or is it going to be missed? Incredible. Nearly fluked it into the yellow pocket, but somehow it looks like he's not going to be too far away from leaving that one to be snookered there from Higgins. So long pot success 100% from Higgins, 0% from Jack here. Let's see if John can try and get past the blue to try and pot the red. He can. Whether he will or not remains to be seen, but the red is probably easier to sort of overcut than for it to be undercut. And that always makes this shot slightly easier for the players. So let's see the way that this is going to go. Right into the pocket it will go, but I mean, once again, he had the opportunity to try and free up a couple more of those reds. Right now, it's still going to be a massive challenge for Higgins, although he's going to be player at the table and technically in control of the way that the remaining frame is going to go. So then 24 points is going to be the difference. And if you take the blue away into the right middle, then you should have nice traction on the white for it to be played into the red onto the black ball cushion. But as I said, I mean, that's why Higgins needed to make sure, whilst Lisowski was super generous to him, of pretty much reigning with those opportunities, he needed to make sure he got more of those reds to be in open play, because he tried to get the first one, and he seems to have landed absolutely horribly on it. I mean, he can take this red on, but also he needs to realise that ideally he needs them with colours, otherwise he's just taking unnecessary risk for no reason. So then, is this one going to go in? He will. Now the cue ball is going to bounce all the way to the top end of the table. Is he going to be positioned for the green? He may be, but I feel like he's still going to have his eyes on the blue there. Not even for the points, but for the way that the white may still have a really good chance for it to be taken towards the reds on the left side cushion. So just thinking about it again, the way that he's got these reds lined up though, as I say, I mean, there's barely a millimetre in between two of them and the side cushion on the left part of the table, and there's one more to be alongside the paint spot, which is still super close. And the only way for you to play the second one away is going to have to try and get yourself lined up with a straightforward shot into the left corner. And that's what Higgins was trying to do. Clearly cannon one of them away, and that didn't really work out at this stage. He was close. He missed the pink on the way down to the red, but that didn't really help him to actually get the red into the open play. But the good news is he managed to have a break of 12 points, and that gets him back from being 25 points down, just down to 13, which leaves Lisowski to be needing pretty much every single one of those reds at this stage of a frame, although this one doesn't seem like it's going to be heading towards the right corner of the table. And yeah, this one, once again, I mean, as much as we've seen Jack miss 5 out of 5 there, at some stage, he is inevitably going to make one of those in. But for him, he needs to be making sure that it's going to happen right now. Can't afford to be having 0 out of 6 there. And he is going to have 0 out of 6. So he's about to enter the 0-0-7 zone. Although, I mean, I'll tell you what, the cue ball placement was absolutely sublime there. And managing to put those reds to be on the left side cushion probably wasn't an achievement. As I say, I still feel like it was a genuine attempt for him to try and pot that red. In the end, didn't really work out. And now Higgins is going to be forced to try and roll towards those reds, which gives the initiative very much towards the Lisowski side of things. So Jack is going to be coming back to the table once again. And a bit of a, as I say, interesting start to this match. We're certainly a lot longer than it's taken than I expected the first 2 frames to finish. And yeah, slightly fortunate there from Jack for him to be having that yellow diagonally lined up, well, very awkwardly for the cue ball for Higgins to try and bridge over. Especially if he wants to try and get one of those reds to be taken into the open play, which probably is going to be the mission for both of them, because now, if you look at the gap that Lisowski's got to his name, he's now 13 points, 50, sorry, I don't know why he's got a break of 12 points next to his name, 51 at the table, and then, at that point onwards, you have to say, even if he scores 16 points out of this, he's still going to need the last red, which is currently sitting onto the left side cushion. And, I mean, Higgins manages to catch one of those reds away, but has he managed to put it safe? The answer is no. And what did I tell you? The fact that last spot time is going to be 10.5 minutes there for Jack in this frame alone is a bit of an extraordinary one for how quickly paced this match has been so far when it comes to break building situations. Now then, he's going to be able to take this red away. So he should be lined up for the blue, but once again, super straight on it. And at the same time, it'll be quite frustrating for Jack to be seeing that. And if he tries to take the blue into the right middle, then he is going to be forced to just committing that he's going to score 6 points out of this break and then leave himself out, remaining with 43 of those Very much still at the table there. So then about to take the blue. And, well, I mean, surprisingly to me, he tried to just get that cue ball to be on the ball cushion. And, well, I mean, I get the point which he was trying to make there, Jack. He basically put the blue safe. He decided not to play it at all, despite it having a straight line. The pink is out of position. Now the blue is out of position as well. Lisowski's going to realise that he needs both of those two reds. Therefore, he doesn't really have the sort of cushion which will leave John Higgins to be in trouble. If, an easy chance to come the way of John Higgins, he should still have an opportunity for him to clear up enough of those points for him to be outscoring Jack here. In the meantime, Jack is going to have another chance to try and go for a long red. This one surely can't be missed. He can not be missed, and he's certainly going to be able to pot this one at last. Now then, still positioned nicely on the yellow over the green pocket. And so, yeah, 15 points of an advantage. So still needs the yellow, the red, and an expensive colour to go with it for him to be lined up with a frame win. And, well, needed that cue ball to catch the red, to catch the pink, sorry, for him to have a realistic opportunity to be playing this red into the corner. Now it's going to be 17 points of the advantage. And 35 remaining here at the table. So Jack needs to try and sort something out there for himself. But what is it going to be? Is it going to be down to purely the position of the cube on this red? Or is it going to be something else towards the situation of the pink there? For now, is he going to try and take it as a risk? He has tried to take it as a risk, and he's managed to get that red in perfectly well. Now then, that changes the entire complex of this frame, because he gets it down to the bowl colours, really. Get the black in, get those bowl colours in, and at that point onwards, you don't have to worry about this second frame anymore. It is going to be very much secured in the bag for Jack Lisowski's point of view. In the meantime, just try and take the black in, probably the most difficult shot which you'll have to take, and still trying to hold that cue ball for the yellow. Managed to get himself lined up pretty nicely as well. So then, lines up for the yellow here, ahead by 25 points, 27 remaining. So he needs this one to go in, and then as soon as the yellow is going to disappear, should still have a really good chance for it to be taken all the way. But look at that, the yellow is going to be missed, and well, I mean, he's missed that one by an absolute mile as well. Give the turn back to John Higgins, and ultimately, all he had to do was to pot the yellow. I mean, 25 points of the advantage. It would have been 27, but instead, John Higgins can still get himself lined up with a really good opportunity to try and battle it out for the blue and the pink. And I'll tell you what, Jack is going to be kicking himself to an extent that he didn't play for the blue, because, you know, if he had 5 more points right now, he wouldn't need to be taking the yellow. But at the same time, didn't really know what's going to happen next. And the fact that he's put that blue onto the side cushion probably gives him at least some sort of hope that, you'll have to wait for another chance there, Higgins. For now, finds himself 23 points behind with 25 at the table. About to take the green away. And get himself positioned for the brown, which probably should be the last colour which he takes in the current break. Especially if he's going to be straight on it. Doesn't want to be straight. And yeah, he looks like he is going to be perfectly straight on the brown, which doesn't really help the case. So now just having a look towards the blue there. Yeah, he doesn't have any sort of angle at all for him to be taking this one with loads of backspin. You feel like that's going to get underneath the blue ball, and unless he wants to try and play 2 doubles, he's going to have to just try and hold that cue ball back there and play a good safety on the blue. So then the brown is taken. It gets it down to 18 points remaining, so 16 behind there for Higgins. Very much 18 remaining at the table. The blue is going to be cannoned towards the center of the black ball cushion. Bouncing away off the right and the left side cushions at the same time. Once again, you can have a look at the frame ball there. Missed by an absolute mile there from Lisowski. I don't know what on earth was going on through his head there. Unforced errors, 3 by each of the players. Lisowski doesn't want the pink to be in the open play, and he's pushed towards the middle pocket there. So that's going to be the thing for John Higgins to have a look at. Because if Lisowski managed to push that pink close enough to the pocket, then he got himself in all sorts of trouble. And basically, he's going to be down to just the battle on the blue. He's not going to have any more safety of a play for him to try and hold on to. But that's going to go out of the position and out of control there for John Higgins. I mean, let's see if we are going to witness a double taken on there by Jack, because it was a bit of a bad safety there to play by John. You know, he cannoned the blue straight into the black. And the cue ball now is going to be lined up pretty well for the double to be taking. He's trying to take that one with power, which always makes the double slightly more difficult because of it adjusting the angle, which you need to be taking that shot massively. So the blue was missed, but the way that he's missed that one by a bit of a margin was always going to leave it into the top part of the table, and placing that cue ball right into the black ball cushion certainly helped. So then let's see, what is it going to be down for John Higgins? Is he going to be able to just try and get that cue ball in behind the black, or at least just get it down to the lower end of the table? And he nearly got a really fortunate kiss of the black and got Jack Lisowski to be in all sorts of trouble. But at the same time, with the blue ball being straight to the top end of the D, I mean, you could argue that this blue can actually be taken on there, although probably not something for you to be doing when you need it as a frame ball. So then all down to just trying to get this one safe now from Jack. But look at that for a shot, brilliant. And I clearly thought he was going to be just trying to make sure you're going to get it safe. Not if you've got a shot like that. Brilliant there from Jack, right when it matters. And now just trying to get that pin closer to the left corner. And, well, John Higgins is not going to have any point to try and continue for this frame. It is now going to be Jack Lisowski at last able to overcome the defensive point of John Higgins and get it back down to 1 frame each there. So all square once again in the first 2 frames of the second semi-final. So for now, just like it was in the match of Weezer against Barry Hawkins, but now are we going to see one of the players to run away with it and take themselves into a 4-1 of a gap? And I'll tell you what, I'd be really surprised if that's going to be Jack Lisowski. So far, his form has been dreadful, and highest break of 20 points probably suggests that as well. All of his points that he manages to score pretty much came in the second frame there, apart from an early foul of 4 points in the first frame. And, well, I mean, as much as John Higgins' stats don't really look that much more appealing, still, I would rather have a highest break of 41 points rather than 20 after the 2 frames played. But bottom line is, it is now 1 frame each. The players should be getting themselves to try and play their best snooker that they have played this week so far. And certainly haven't seen too much of that in the previous couple of frames. But we could still see a decent lineup there from the Higgins and Lisowski's point of view. Now just looking at the referee, trying to get those reds to be respotted. And it's no surprise that Higgins has gone for a bathroom break. Looked like Lisowski was going to join him, but at the same time just probably going for a bottle of water there for him to be having. And now straight back to the seat he goes. Trying to do a bit of a cleaning on his cue. Just making sure that he's going to be up and running with his long pots, because once again, I mean, for the number of opportunities that he had, the fact that he wasn't able to make pretty much any single one of them, you know, the rate that he actually managed to take previously was over the pocket there, whether you like it or not. And you can still count that as a long pot that he made, but at the same time, you have to say he wasn't really able to make that one all the way. And still, the fact if you score 20 points as your highest break in the second frame there, of course his highest break was 0 in the first frame, you're going to be pretty fortunate to be finding yourself on winning that frame. So now then, it is going to be the break-off about to unfold. John Higgins is back. And let's see if their good snooker is going to be back in the arena as well. As one of the players trying to get themselves into the final and try and battle it out for their Ray Reedon trophy. And as I say, this match is going to mean a lot more to Jack than it will to John from the prize money point of view. Purely this one, because technically, of course, he'll confirm, if he wins this one, that he will be, well, getting more prize money than he actually gets for winning the whole tournament, for it to be called a Home Nations bonus. But for now, he has to be slightly far away from his mind. And the good break-off shot certainly was in his mind, because that's the shot that he's managed to take. So then once again, back to John Higgins it goes. So let's see the way that this is going to go now. It needs to be taking this red quite carefully towards the right corner, because this one can just bounce away from the cushion. But look at that, brilliant from John. Once again, trying to bounce all the way to the bold colours. Is he going to have the cue ball to slow down in time? No, he won't. So, I mean, the brown can still be taken there into the left middle, but at the same time, is there going to be a way for him to try and actually continue the break from this point onwards? I mean, it's a difficult one to call. And if you take that cue ball all the way towards the brown, you should have a really nice chance to try and use loads of side spin. But he just makes the shot, well, a little bit more difficult than it already has become. Look at that. Brilliant once again from John. Able to get the brown in and still using all the side spin that you could possibly imagine. Getting that one across and lower than the blue ball line for him to be lined up on one of those reds. To be taken into the left middle. So using the entire width of the pocket there. Didn't really want to hit the black. And I'm not sure if he's managed to buy himself a golden ticket there. Because if he's managed to disturb the black by the and the red next to it. Just about enough there. He could have managed to solve out probably the biggest issue that he had in the entire frame here. So then he's got a break of 6 points. And it's now going to be down to try and support the black. Clear the red next to it straight after. And then get yourself lined up for a couple more shots to be played on the current break chance. Now then, the black is going to be in. The cue ball is going to be slightly further away from the red and not have the perfect angle for that one to be taken. But still probably expect for the red to disappear. Into the left corner. The black was probably going to be there to follow it. And right now is all going to be down to the cue ball. And the way it has to be played towards this red. Once again, take all the power away from the cue ball here. Get that one across towards the blue ball line. He's not going to have the chance to try and hold it for the pink or the black. And there he goes for the blue. And being on the right side of it certainly is going to help. Once again, exactly the reverse break of his highest one achieved so far in this match. And he should have a really good chance to try and take the blue away into the right middle. And then is he going to be playing that cue ball into those reds? He was. And now has he got the result that he wanted? I feel like it's one of those shots there with Higgins that it's difficult to criticise him for. But I was a bit surprised that he's taken that shot straight away. Despite having 2 more open reds for him to try and potentially line himself up for. You can see just having a look at the black potentially being possible into the left corner. If he is to take this super difficult red into the yellow pocket there. But, I mean, if you miss that one by just about enough of a margin, you should be leaving this one over the, well, either left middle or the yellow pocket there. It depends by how much of a margin you actually miss it by. So then Higgins is going to have to try and take this one proper seriously. And if he's not confident about it, there's not going to be any shame in playing for a safety. And that looks to be the mindset there. Because once again, you know, we've seen those shots to be taken on by Weezer against Barry Hawkins. And they didn't really lead to anything apart from frame loss there. So it's still going to be 19 points scored, which, well, it certainly gets added to his points account in this frame. Whether he's going to have to go towards the frame count at the end of it, we'll have to wait and see. And I'll tell you what, Jack Lisowski certainly, he's not going to be able to... He's one stubborn man he is, because despite missing 7 out of 8 long pots that he's taken, he's about to miss 8 there. I feel like, well, no wonder Chomp is good friends with him. It's quite funny that, because as I say, you know, you see Chomp just going for the thing that works for him, but it's really surprising to see Lisowski missing 8 of the 9 long shots that he's taken, and especially with the one, you know, it doesn't really get easier than that in terms of the first shot that he missed, and from that point onwards, he just seems to have got a lot harder ever since, and no wonder he wasn't able to pot loads of them. And now it's quite fortunate not to leave the same red away for Higgins, and well, clearly that's going to be another thing in the back of his mind. If he's going to be getting away with those chances, then he may as well try to sort of pot even more of those. Because, as I say, despite him missing out on 8 of those 9 long shots, he still finds himself with the scoreboard being 1 frame each. 19 points down in this frame, but with 123 still at the table, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Although, I'll tell you what, it is going to be an almighty issue if you play shots like that. I mean, I know he gets away with those, but that is absolutely atrocious there from Jack. All he had to do was to take that red along the side cushion, and he's put it right over the middle. I mean, that's incredible the way that he's played this one in. And of course, the way that this red is going to be so close to the pocket, it allows Higgins to have pretty much full control of where he wants that cue ball to be placed. Although, just as I say that, he could have certainly thought about it a bit more and get himself lined up better on the black or the pink. Seems to be exactly in the middle of two of those colours. I'm probably not going to be taking the pink on. You know, at least if you take the black, you're going to have the cue ball to be sticking around next to those reds. If you take the pink away, the cue ball is not going to be anywhere near those reds. So, but the black is going to be, you know, just about as difficult as the pink for it to be taken. Played the shot pretty well there. And yeah, Higgins needs to make sure he puts the business face on, and he needs to try and stop messing around there. He's as bad as Lisowski has been, he still finds himself with a level scoring board, and Higgins needs to change that before the intermission, and he desperately needs that 3-1 of a cushion, because when you've got Jack Lisowski and he's not playing well, you need to make sure you're really going to be scoring during those frames, because he always had got the ability of, you know, one of those long shots to go in. All of a sudden, he's going to find himself playing the form of his life. That's why you want a couple of those frames to have as a cushion next to your name. For now, Higgins is going to have a position on the pink available to himself. So just having a look towards the reds combination there, right next to the left corner. Is it going to be taken all the way though? Because if the pink is about to disappear into the right corner, then he needs to make sure the cue was heading towards those reds as well. Needs to get past the black. Good bounce. Those cushions have been criticised before there, especially by Mark Williams. But this one certainly seems to have played out pretty well for Higgins, because as much as he's going to be slightly lower on this red than he would have liked, it still gives him a really good chance to try and take it all the way for the pink. And of course, if he's not comfortable with doing that, you can always just try and add a bit more power to it. And that ends up with the cue ball being placed nicely onto the blue. And you're going to have the backup of the bold colours as well. So in the meantime, it's 35 points of the advantage. About to take the blue into the left middle. Get himself lined up with a 40 points advantage. Once again, a break of 21 points. To add to the previous score of 19. And as much as it has been a bit of a steady start from Higgins, he just needs to keep winning those frames and get himself lined up with that 3-1 of a gap. And he could really turn this one around quite heavily. And I'm very surprised to see that percentage is dropping down, because if I was to make a prediction now, I mean, it would be 6-2 in favour of Higgins, because, I mean, the things that I've seen from Lisowski there, some of those shots have been absolutely baffling for an amateur status, let alone for them to be in a professional semi-final of a ranking event. But the thing about Jack is always going to have to be aware about, when he doesn't play well, there's always a chance that he will start playing well at some point. But he's probably got a wrong draw for that to be the case, because sometimes it takes one frame for you not to be playing well. Then John Higgins has got a chance to pounce on that and develop it into something bigger than just a frame win. Take all that momentum into a couple more of those frames, and from that point onwards, he should have a really good chance of trying to get that gap to be really starting to mount on Jack's point of view. So then for now, he's got a difficult red to be taken in terms of the way for him to try and get to the cue ball. Shouldn't be too difficult for him to try and actually drop the red whilst playing for the black. Bit of bit of topspin there for him to be needed, playing all the way for the black ball cushion. And it probably won't need to be using the cushion there, to be fair, because if he's got that much of side spin, then he may as well just take a bit of that away for the cue ball to be drifting towards the black, but not too close to it, so that he's got enough room for a maneuver to be made, and get himself lined up for the upper end of the pink. And then at that point onwards, I mean, once again, Higgins has got a decision here to make. It's probably a simple one, especially for him already making a mistake like that previously in this frame. Although, I mean, he's gone the way of what I was going to suggest, trying to play for one more loose red, and then just try and take them one by one there. He's trying to take it into the bunch, but to be fair, this time around, it's worked out absolutely perfectly for him. And he's got the remaining 5 reds before he gets to the 2 more of those to be on the side cushions, to be very much within the reaching distance there. So about to make it 63 points of a gap. 75 still at the table. So if the black is going to be taken into the left corner, then the cue ball is going to have to be bouncing away like a crazy ball. Certainly managed to do that. And yeah, the fact that he was quite low in terms of the angle that he had on the black certainly didn't help the case, but should now have a good chance and a really good opportunity for him to be playing for one more red and black combination. And at that point onwards, it is going to be 71 points of an advantage, whilst only having 67 of those to be remaining at the table. And yeah, once again, Jack has to be disappointed for how badly this frame has gone towards him in terms of how he actually got John Higgins into this position, leaving that red over the left middle. And now he's guaranteed himself not to be leading at the intermission. He's still got a good enough chance for him to try and put it back to 2 frames each. 71 points of an advantage now for Higgins. This frame should be done and dusted, especially if the red is going to disappear. With the highest break of the match so far, the first 50 plus break that we've seen in those 3 frames. Could technically still be a break of 100 points there. As now Higgins gets himself lined up for the ping to be taken. And if he takes that one all the way, so the cue ball is going to be heading towards the front jaw. And he's trying to do that just to make sure that the pink is going to be exactly in between those 2 reds. And the cue ball is going to have the good angle for one of those to be taken. Probably has to be down to just making a century break here. Because if he gets those 3 easy reds away, I say easy reds, 2 certainly are going to be classified as easy. One more to be slightly closer to the side cushion. And then from that point onwards, should get himself lined up pretty nicely onto the remaining couple of those reds. For now into a break of 67 points. So still very much marching on towards a break of 116 points now. As he plays for the blue. So about to make it 73 points here. And get himself lined up on the last 2 reds there by the left side. Could have done with the cue ball being slightly closer to those reds. And the side spin clearly didn't do his job there. Because as much as the cue ball bounced away from the black ball cushion, it bounced away with a straight line. Instead of trying to minimize the distance in between the reds and the cue ball itself. So then try and take this one with loads of backspin. I mean, he's playing this one with topspin, which is surprising to me. I thought he was going to try and play for the blue. And instead, he's not going to be anywhere near potting that red. So in the end, it is going to be the break of 73 points, which is still higher than anything we've seen. And more than 3 times higher than anything that we've seen from Jack Lisowski's point of view. He still finds himself with the highest break of his match so far, being only break of 20 points there. John Higgins, though, is still very much the man to beat, as he takes a commanding lead of 2 frames to 1, commanding in terms of stats, and still pretty confident in terms of the way that he's managed to handle this frame so far. So finds himself a couple of frames away there from having a really good lead, which you probably have to be happy about. But before then, he just needs to be making sure that he's got a really good opportunity to try and take that 3-1 lead before the intermission is going to begin. In the meantime, once again, Lisowski just going for a bathroom break, which, I mean, is a bit of an understandable thing there because he needs to try and do something with his game, and he's not been spending at all any of this time really on the table there. So he needs to try and kickstart his campaign by doing, what he's managed to do against Bingham, what he's managed to do in the previous couple of rounds, and what he's managed to do pretty much in the entirety of the Northern Ireland Open. If you look at the way that he's managed to get himself into this stage, as I say, beating Bingham 5-2, then he had a bit of a weird match against, who was it that he beat in the last 16 stage? And Jackson Page there, because, yeah, he found himself very much losing 2 frames to 1 there, but at the same time, he's had such a good winning streak of 3 frames there. It did come down to the last raid, with Jackson Page missed and left it over the pocket there for Jack, but still at the same time, you probably have to say, he's done about as well as he could have done at that stage. A couple of early round matches as well that he had against Xiao Gudon, the world number 10, twicest higher ranking from Lisowski's point of view. And of course, he had the match against Louis Heathcote for him to get started. So lost out at least 2 frames in every single one of those matches. first three to be first to four there. And then, you know, of course, the Bingham match was first to five. This time around, he's going to once again lose out on 2 more of those frame encounters. But right now, if he is to try and keep that stat very much alive for him, he needs to try and win 5 frames on the bounce there, which probably is not going to happen against someone that has been playing as consistent as John Higgins so far in this campaign. So then, a good break-off shot is needed now for John because, well, this is going perfectly well for him. He hasn't really played well in, you know, either one of those 3 frames, apart from maybe scoring now. Break of 73 points after an absolute sitter of a red was left to him. And let's see if it is going to be a bit of a strategy change. It won't be, but this time around, finally, we are going to witness the red, which has finally been made into the pocket there by Jack from a long shot. Probably the hardest of them all that he's played. And this time around, he's going to have a pretty nice position on the pink as well. So this has to be an opportunity for him to try and kickstart his campaign at the semi-final. Because if he goes 3-1 down, he may find himself in a position where it's going to be too late at that stage. For now, it's still only 1 frame in it. And yeah, 7 points of the advantage here, certainly for Jack. So let's see if he's going to be taking this one all the way. And trying to get the red first into the left corner. Get himself lined up for the black to be taken as well. And, well, I mean, the pink is going to have to go in between those reds, which probably not going to be good news for him for now, but it may well be the case in 8 or 9 shots time, because I can see 4 reds that he can try and take with the blue or the black. Depends on how available the red next to the black makes it there with the colour. Well, straight away, that's going to be a bit of a problem there, that he's lined it up straight on the blue. And pot success 67 there for Jack Lisowski. Of course, compromised massively by a couple of opening frame misses. 67, plays 91 there. Unforced errors, 4 of those from Jack. 3 from John Higgins' point of view. So once again, just trying to find an angle for himself to get himself lined up onto a red towards the left corner. But, I mean, ideally would have liked to be a lot closer to that. Because once again, he's certainly not going to be able to try and force that cue ball to be bouncing from the left side, which means he needs to be trying to take this one all the way towards the blue and having the cue ball to cannon away from the side cushion. Play the shot pretty well. Once again, this time around, he's going to have a bit more of the angle. Probably still not enough there for this one to be called a comfortable shot. But at least he gave himself some sort of a thing to try and stick to. Needs that cue ball to slow down before it reaches the reds. And, well, now he needs to speed it up at the same time. Not sure he's going to have the position on the red next to the black there. I'm not even sure that that's the colour, that's the red that he was playing for. Because inevitably, he's going to have that cue ball to cannon into the black. Hasn't worked out too badly, to be fair. So then he's got the shot at the blue to be taking. He's got the shot at the black as well to try and consider into the left corner. As he now repeats his highest break so far made in the match of 20 points. You have to probably expect the cue ball to be taken off the left side after taking the blue. The blue is in. How's the cue ball going to bounce away? Is he going to have the pace? He will, you know. So after all that, he still should be back to square one there for Jack, because that was going to be mission maximum before trying to get himself lined up for the blue and take that cue ball all the way into those reds. I mean, hasn't really managed to play for the blue though. Has to be doing that off the yellow, which makes it more difficult to actually get the outcome that you want. Though it is going to be a good acceleration point for the cue ball. He's thinking about taking it into the green as well, but I mean, if you take it with the green, you need to do it off 2 cushions, which makes it more difficult for you to judge the contact point of the cue ball. And that's exactly what happened. He's taking that green full power. And it was actually closer when the cue was gone all the way to the left corner, rattled into the jaws, and bounced away towards the top end of the table. And he didn't cannon the reds with any one of those shots anyway. So it's 29 points that he scores. Still the highest in the match for himself, but clearly not going to be enough to trouble John Higgins here. And it is going to be back to John here to try and do something about it. In the meantime, it's going to be John to probably give this opportunity away to Jack there in terms of playing a minor contact and really thin on the edge of one of those reds, especially with the way that you would have seen that dangerous long shot that Lisowski was able to take. And in the end, Higgins there just doing a bit of a both there. He didn't open up the entire pack of reds, but at least he got 3 of those to be in the open play. The problem for himself is that the 2 of them are going to be right next to the side cushion. Once again, Lisowski just looking for that line, unable to find it, catching that brown full ball in the face and leaving the cue ball to be onto the brown spot here. Another red which he could have left slightly further away from the left corner, potentially to be considered there by John. Has got the pink away from the left side cushion. And, well, I mean, it's quite close to it, but right next to the black as well. The red is going to be taken, the blue is going to be cannoned, and that's not really going to be the ideal case scenario. But, I mean, he's all right on the green, to be fair. And with how few reds that he's got available next to his name, because he already had 6 of those to be eliminated. 9 more. 1 more very much available to him. So is he going to be taking the black here, though? Because the green would have been easier. As much as there is a direct way for the cue ball to travel towards the red, the black still has to be made there, and it wasn't made. And you can see it's quite fortunate there, John Higgins, for, well, catching the double kiss on the black, getting that cue ball to cannon away from the main pack of the action. And the black and the cue ball are both going to be away from the main scene. So it's now going to be 28 points of a difference. And Jack is going to have to try and, well, play a safety shot now. You can hardly see him take a long shot from this position. Plays this one pretty well, especially if he's going to have that cue ball to go all the way and in behind the blue. Nearly does it. You know, he's managed to cover up 10 of those reds, but 1 more that is left out by the left side. Still going to be available there for John. And that's probably the red that is going to be the only one that he needs off the cross double. Just make sure you don't leave it over the right corner. The cue ball shouldn't have any sort of a problem for it to be getting all the way towards the yellow pocket. So yeah, managing to hit the right side of the red to ensure that he wasn't too close, but at the same time not so far away from the right corner. And just gives it back to Jack Lisowski there with a turn. Jack needs a thin contact on the cue ball, but once again, I mean, you felt like that was rushed. That was really a rush shot there from Jack, and it was a split second of a thinking process. Then it takes another 2 seconds for him to get down, and then he plays that shot very thick on the edge there, and seems disappointed, but clearly doesn't seem to make a lot of changes to the way that he plays the game for now. And this mistake is going to be slightly more costly than the previous one, because the Reds are, you know, getting their numbers lower as the time goes by. And now it's another red shot which John Higgins can try and take into the right middle, pushing that cue ball all the way for it to be taken into the right corner. And if he plays this one well, the cue ball should be bouncing away off the left side, getting himself lined up onto, well, the 5 colours there at the top end of the table he's got to choose from. And it looks like he's going to be lined up nicely on the brown, black and the blue to choose from. Great commentary, thank you very much. So, yeah, if you take the blue away into the green pocket, then it's going to have to be purely down to just getting himself lined up to the lower end of the table here for the cue ball. Because if you get it down off the side there and towards the left corner of that line of the table, then you're still going to put a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the red, but at least get yourself into with a chance. Get the blue to be respotted as well. Ideally would have liked to see either pink or black. Well, ideally would have liked to see the black, realistically, because the pink still would have been compromised by a couple of those reds. And for the fact for him to be playing those shots all the way to the blue every single time there, well, we've seen that in the second frame. We've seen that in this frame as well, that it doesn't really suit the players, especially with both of them still being very far away from playing their best game so far in this match. And yeah, if you take this blue all the way into the middle, at least he's going to be able to get himself a realistic chance of scoring 4 reds with the 4 blues there. That gets you down to 24 points, which you can try and score. And from that point onwards, you know, at least he's going to be in the lead He's going to have 3 more reds to try and make his way through. But at that stage, you never quite know. He only needs once. You only need that cue ball to be sent to the top end of the table once now. You can take the black away. You can place it next to his spot. And all of a sudden, one more shot than you need. And you're going to be able to get those 3 reds away from the black or cushion. For now, the blue about to be taken into the right middle. Getting that cue ball to bounce away off the left side. Getting himself lined up for 3 more of those reds, as I say. But the problem is for Higgins now is that the further he gets into those 4 reds, the further away from the blue he will be, because naturally you're going to be taking the ones closer to the blue ball line. But the remaining 2, after he takes this one, which, to be fair to him, manages to have a really nice angle to try and force the position on the blue, which still doesn't seem like it's going to be enough there. Just about has got the, well, right side of the blue to be taking this one, but he can't really bounce it away off 2 cushions. If he has to be doing that off 2 cushions or more, he needs to be doing that on 3 cushions. And is that what he's played for? No, he's trying to hold this one together. And, well, once again, that was always going to be the issue. Once you overrun for the blue, or underrun, really, which was the case, you know, you're always going to be underrunning for the reds as well. And that's where problems are going to start joining John Higgins. Now, 26 points. As he pops the red into the right corner. This time around, plays a much better shot on the blue, to be fair. So, able to recover. And going to put this one down to taking one last red of the ones that are available to him. And then at that stage, you know, get yourself an 8 points of a lead or something like that. And try and do something with those remaining 3 reds. But ideally, would have liked the black to be next to those 3. Would have given him the opportunity to try and do something about it. Instead, had to work really hard for this break of 30 points. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier from this point onwards because of, you know, as I say, he can try and take this red into the left corner. There's not going to be a lot of problem with that. But in the same time, if he gets that blue not to be potted, then it is going to be a massive issue for Jack Lisowski there, once again, to try and come back to the table and be the player that forces all the chances away. And even if he's unable to do it first time, then, you know, technically, he's still not going to be too many points away there from Higgins. So now Lisowski is having a look at this one. And Higgins there, I mean, what has he done? I don't know why on earth was he trying to split the reds away from the red itself. I mean, surely he would have realised that he can't go right for him because, I mean, what if he made this red in? I mean, he would not have been on the colour at all. And now he's left an open opportunity away for Jack here. He's got 3 of those reds available. He's about to take the first one away. Surely he's going to be taking the black here as well. Tell you what, this is a really weird chance to be given away there. Especially when you're so close to taking that 3-1 lead. And you only need one more shot there off the blue. But if you're unable to do it, then so be it. Whatever you do, don't take yourself into a desperate zone because that doesn't really help your case. You know, yes, as I say, he could have managed to spread those reds out perfectly and get the red into the corner at the same time, which wasn't the case. But then how are you going to play the colour? You know, the pink is not available. He was never going to be close to the blue. So he was down to just trying to give himself a gamble to play for the black. But you need to be taking that one through all the length of the table. So, yeah, weird mistake that from John. And for someone as smart and calculated, it's going to be very difficult for you to try and find someone that has got greater snooker IQ than John Higgins. So clearly he had something on his mind, but whatever he was, clearly didn't seem to work out too well for him. Now Lisowski, can he try and make it a carbon copy of the second frame without missing the yellow as a frame ball though? That will certainly help, because he's still got the pink as a minor cover-up point. But he needs to be getting those 2 reds with well, decent value colours. He doesn't really have to be taking them all the way, because as much as he's able to kill the frame away before getting himself to need the pink, then he should be sorted there. So now he's got a 10 points of a lead. He's thinking a long time there in relation to the penultimate red, which is about to be taken into the green pocket. Probably he's going to have the green to play for as well into the yellow pocket instead. And just try and hold that cue ball to be quite close to the side cushion. Has he played this one well? Yes, he has. In terms of getting that red in. let's have a look at the position on the green here, which doesn't seem too bad either. And that's going to be purely down to the next couple of shots here, because if he's able to get himself on the red, then it should just be a matter of time before he gets that red and lines himself up for the black. Although it needs a big bounce, it needs it to be bigger than that. And, well, he certainly is going to be very disappointed with the way that this break has gone now. It's a break of, well, 16 points that he takes. And now he's going to have himself to be snookered and not seeing any part of this red to be taken through the right side cushion. So, once again, it is going to be a minor advantage to Jack here, but only purely for the reason of, you know, John Higgins will need the pink. He probably won't at this stage. So now, just thinking about trying to get this red in a safe position there. There's going to be loads of thoughts there to be storming through his mind, but only one of them will be executed at the end. So just once again looking at maybe even the left side, which is going to have to take notice of, because if you place that one all the way, then you get yourself lined up for that red to be taken into the corner. Wow, he's tried to hit it with a hidden hope shot, nearly flunked it into the left middle, nearly flunked it into the green pocket, and seems to have got away with it, with having John Higgins to be snookered. So, I mean, that's certainly very good from his point of view, but not so much from John Higgins' point of view. Now, then a break of 16 points. Still is going to be the end there of Jack Lisowski for the time being, and you can see there, that's not a nice snooker for Higgins to be seeing either, because of the way that cue ball has to be taken all the way through the right side. And well, ideally you want to be playing the shot with a bit of power, and now he needs a bit of luck on the pink. And is he going to get it? I mean, I'm not sure about that, because has he left himself in a bit of a problem position there in terms of, is Jack going to be able to find John Higgins to be snookered here? He clearly didn't want to risk the sanity of the pink there and keep it onto the left side rail. And now placing that yellow onto the right side rail, though for it to be super close to the green pocket probably wouldn't be too much of an issue. And at the same time, Lisowski is actually going to be the player that needs this yellow probably more than John Higgins does at this stage, because it doesn't actually mean a lot there if you just take the yellow out of the game. Well, I mean, talking about taking the yellow out of the game, the red is going to be close to the yellow, and let's see which one of them is going to be left over the pocket. The yellow, in the end, is going to be in the way of that red. So we're 2/3 of the way to making the traffic lights to be sent towards the green pocket, but I'll tell you what, Jack won't be enjoying this one. He needs to try and somehow cannon this red away without really touching the yellow, because if he touches the yellow, he gets himself into a position where it could just be down to luck whether he's left this red or he's managed to cover it up with the yellow or just the cue ball placement. Yeah, that's more likely, to be fair. Able to just bounce away from the left side cushion, although, I mean, as much as it was a good shot that he's played, he still left this red to be in a pretty dangerous position there. So, what's it going to be there from Higgins? Is he going to be trying to take this one away into the left corner? Not too sure about that, because technically he can see enough of this red to be taken all the way, because he only needs the left side of it to be seeing, and that's surely going to be enough there for him. So he should try and drop the red into the corner. Then it is going to be advantage Higgins, because as much as he needs the pink, he's going to be now able to get this pink into the open play, although, I mean, once again, could have done without it being super close to the black ball cushion. But with the yellow being in such an awkward spot there, it has to come down to the next couple of shots there for John, because as much as he gave himself a ticket, and he still needs to get himself a return, and he's going to try and surely get Jack Lisowski snookered here. So, not going to be trying to invent anything here. Just making sure he got this one to be covering up the ball cushion bounce. And Jack is going to be aware of that, because, you know, Higgins technically managed to sort out two issues there. He got the red away, he got Lisowski snookered, and at the same time he got the pink, which probably was the only colour stopping him from making a total clearance. Potentially away into the open play there. So, of course, if this one is to be taken all the way, Higgins technically needs a black. And gets himself, if he gets 20 points there, that's going to guarantee him a respot. But if he doesn't, then, it doesn't really matter about the black. And it has to be just a battle for the yellow here for now. Once again, a bit of a risky shot there that Jack has taken. But with him taking that yellow very much from the side cushion, I suppose every single shot has to be risky. So as he left this one over the yellow pocket there, Higgins to try and take it away. It feels like he hasn't, but the similar sort of a shot was made by Hawkins, so I wouldn't be surprised if Higgins makes this one too. And he does go for it, and he does make it really nice into the pocket. So, as much as it looked like it was marginal, he's certainly able to turn that margin into a really good of a chance here for him. And as I said previously, the paint was the only issue. Now it's going to be just about nerve management, and well, John Higgins probably is not going to struggle with that. Although, as we've seen at the Players' Championship, at the Masters, was it at the Players' Championship? No, it wasn't the Players' Championship, where he has gone horribly wrong in the decider in the 10th frame, I should say, of the semi-final against Jump, and is now taking the brown into the yellow pocket. So then he finds himself 4 points behind. So, as I say, to go 7 points clear after potting the blue and the pink, that will leave Lisowski with a potential opportunity to try and force the respot if somehow Higgins is to mess up the position on the black. Probably the only way where he can go wrong. And the thing about this shot though, Higgins has committed to try and play that cue ball all the way around the table here. So let's see if this is going to work out. He needs it to, because the cue ball might have a massive bounce of one of those cushions, and I'm a bit surprised really that he left himself with such a shot to play. He could have got closer to that blue after the brown. Instead, he clearly was trying to just get that cue ball into a zone there rather than playing for a specific spot, and now needs to judge the pace of the cue ball to absolute perfection. And I feel like he's managed to do that just about there for him to be lined up exactly alongside the black. So now Jack is going to be ready for him to heading towards the intermission. And it looks like it is going to be still with a break of his highest in this match, as the 29 points there. Really weird stat for him to be taking on. But John Higgins now takes this frame away with a total clearance of 27 points. Once again, Lisowski had his chances to try and somehow force a draw after the opening 4 frames, but that wasn't to be. John Higgins leads now Jack Lisowski by 3 frames to 1. And let's see if the form of Lisowski will be with him after the intermission break of 15 minutes time. And unless that is the case, Higgins should be able to run away with this one and set up a clash with Barry Hawkins in the final. Speak to you soon in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in.
hard. And we were traveling the mountains just to find the loudest seas. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I remember the ocean, memories die out too hard. But we were traveling the mountains just to find the loudest seas. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I'm in a tropic club.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, 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 for you. Won't you let the light shine through? in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for
Welcome back everybody to part number 2 here of the second semi-final, and let's see if we're finally going to be seeing a little bit more of the second player as well, because it has been a very weird and one-sided story so far, with Lisowski still yet to get himself, well, pretty much on the score sheet. I know he's managed to win the second frame, but it's all gone downhill for him ever since. And even before that, in the first frame, where he wasn't able to pop any of those reds at all for him to get started, and when he did do that, he still didn't really get too easy. Well, didn't get easy for him at the colours either. Now then, once again, another break off is going to be taken there by Jack. Let's see if it's going to be a chance taken here by John. It's really a carbon copy of the shot that he has taken in the first frame. Clearly feels like there's not going to be a need for him to be taking this one away though. As I say, an absolute carbon copy there of the one that he's managed to take nicely into the right corner. Of course, only on that occasion he was able to score 5 or 6 points there, but still, that was his essential start. That didn't allow Lisowski to be getting himself anywhere near the picture for the frame and therefore the match. And this time around, another bit of a misjudgment there from Jack, who plays the cue ball straight onto the brown and unable to get himself lined up with anything there. You can see more than double in terms of total points scored there in comparison to the two players, but that probably doesn't tell you the whole picture, and that certainly does. 79 balls spotted there for Higgins, only 35 of those for Jack, 24 seconds average shot time that Lisowski needs to be taking per average, and Higgins slightly more there, but when he's played more shots, he's managed to put more balls. You're always going to have slightly more time than you need for it to be taking, and well, this time around, it's a bit of a misjudgment there from Higgins' point of view. Gives the turn back to Jack here. And once again, we know what's going to happen. Is he going to try and go for this shred away? Yes, he will. But this time around, he'll make it really nicely away. So once again, those are the shots that he needs to try and make here. And he needs to try and make them now. Because if he goes 4-1 down, it'll be the exact repeat of the way that the first semi-final has gone. And as much as he can still play the way of Weezer and make those breaks for fun, I feel like it is going to be a bit of a different story with having John Higgins in the opposite side of the corner rather than Barry Hawkins there. So then a red about to disappear and free up the pink spot, which will certainly help the pursuit there of some good points there from Jack. So he just takes this red away, and well, he's taking the pink away as well with it, so I'm not sure he could have actually avoided the contact, otherwise he probably would have done so. Right now, just trying to play for the red after this blue there. Well, it's not going to be an easy solution from here, because I feel like he's going to have loads of those reds looking at him, and potentially, I mean, I'm not going to say do it now, but you'll certainly have to do that in a couple of shots time. So why not do it now, really? Because he's got to have a red waiting for him over the left middle. So if you've got that as a bit of an extra help for yourself, then it says no there. He's certainly going to need to be doing and to be winning those frames in a single visit to the table to try and put any sort of real pressure away to John Higgins. And that was the shot that he played. And a bit unfortunate there, to be fair. But after all the calamity that he's managed to cause on the table, the red which I mentioned over the left middle is still going to be, well, it was replaced by another red, as you can see on the replay. But he's still going to be very much playable there for Jack. And that's going to be his ticket to try and get himself lined up for more of a straightforward position for him to be taking. For now, the blue. And he's managed to play this one pretty well. The right side to be lined up on the blue. And still, the only problem with this position now for Jack is that he certainly managed to sort out the reds absolutely brilliantly. But the pink out of the game in a couple of shots prior to that. And now it's going to be all about trying to do it here with the blue. Play this red onto this side, the left middle, with a bit of, well, topspin there needed there on the cube. I'm not sure he was put there by Jack, because he seems to be very straight on this blue. You should have the minor angle though to try and get that cue ball down slightly. So just looking to try and get himself lined up for the lower reds. And once again, that's going to be very much the temptation for him to try and bring the black into play as well. Probably not on this occasion though, unless, I mean, he's got the shot into the middle, which he thought about for a second, but clearly that would have been a risky shot for him to play there. So just takes the red, which gives them somewhat the angle to be getting the position on the blue. Now then 23 points is the advantage, because Lisowski still yet to get himself past that 29 points of a mark. He's about to repeat that same break that he's managed to score in the previous frame, getting himself a break of 28 points. So, as I say, if he gets the red in, that'll make it this certainly the repeat of the highest break achieved in the match, but nothing to be proud of. Just try and get rid of that number. Make sure you're going to be able to make the first 50+ break of the match. And as much as it is going to be difficult for him to try and keep it on the blue all the time, then, you know, if that is the case, then make sure you get the black to be in the open play. And at that point onwards, you know, it should be slightly easier for you. For now, the blue to be taking and yeah, just trying to get that cue ball around the red, which he doesn't really need to touch there. So then, it's going to come down to the next couple of shots, because if he takes this red, I mean, he needs a bit of the bounce there from the cue ball, but if he plays this shot with backspin, he's always going to be leaving a bit of distance in between himself and, well, the cue ball and the black. But he's managed to play this one pretty well. Pretty much has got the cue alongside the red, right next to the black ball cushion. So it's probably going to be a red for him to be playing for, although he's decided against that. And has he managed to force that cue ball with enough of a power there? I feel like he has, because, you know, you wouldn't be playing for that red anyway. So if he's going to be a millimeter short on that, well, I can see what he's getting at. Clearly unhappy with the way that he has to bridge over another red. Makes the shot awkward for him. And yeah, last second you can see there just a bit of uncertainty on this shot. Didn't have to make it this complicated for himself. It's probably bad enough as it is. You know, he's back down twice now out of this shot. He hasn't got plan B. Plan B is going to be worse than plan Z out there, because, you know, plan B has to be playing a safety shot. You know, it's never nice when the player is taking so much time on those shots, but it's always nice when you take so much time and you still pot it. Now, slightly out of position for the blue. He's been able to put this one before into the yellow pocket, and he should be able to do it now. Once again, well, he wasn't as clean as the previous shot, but still able to keep this break going there. And remember, even though he is going to be 3-1 down, one frame could turn this around and could turn the momentum around, and all of a sudden, 3-2 doesn't seem that bad of a scoreline to be against someone like John Higgins, especially when you've played absolutely dreadful snooker in the opening 4 frames. Not so much in the 5th one, though. Seems to be up to the gear. Although you probably have to say that after wins the frame with a single visit to the table. He's not too far away, though, from doing that. He's a lot further away now, though. I mean, bit of a questionable short selection. Clearly was way too straight on the black, trying to develop the red right next to the black ball cushion. But, I mean, he's managed to develop it closer to the pocket. That didn't really help for the cue ball to bounce away. Now he is going to be getting slightly frustrated and going for a long shot. Now he's managed to play this one in control power, and he certainly got that one in nicely into the pocket. So, I mean, it's a black and the red there, and at that point, he should be very much laying himself as a frame winner and getting closer to making this one the highest break made in the entire match there. 64, not too far away already. So then just about to roll this red in, and frame time, less than 10 minutes there. This is more like it. This is a lot more like we've seen Jack Lisowski play against Stuart Bingham and against Xiao Godon. Now, is he going to be able to try and keep this momentum going, or is it going to be just, you know, a little bit of a glimpse of what could have been there from Jack? But ultimately, he didn't quite get himself into an impossible position, or somewhat impossible, for him to try and get out of. You know, he's not 4-1 down. He now finds himself 3-2 down, and still with a really good chance to try and make it. Well, I'm not going to say make a century break, because it's not a really good chance for it. And he's going to have a red in between himself and actually achieving that goal. But, I mean, he's got the red over the pocket, which is just taken. You know, if he takes those 3 reds with the black, then he should be able to make the century without needing the top colours. Well, that's not really where the issue will go anyway. Nice little topspin usage to get that cue ball in behind the red. And he should still have a really good chance to try and take this one into the corner pocket of the table. Let's see if he's played this one well enough. He has. Now got that cue ball to be lined up on the blue, which is not the black, but that will still do him nicely. Managed to play, well, the Blues 7 times now after he puts this one into the medal, which makes the possible break of 129 points even more impressive, but he leaves himself with a very difficult raid to be taking, and he's managed to take this one pretty well, so still in there with a chance. So now going to be officially a highest break mate of the match. Can he make it the second highest break of the semi-finals today? No, he can't. It's not going to be a second century break, so Jack is still going to be slightly disappointed there with himself, but that's a lot better than what we've seen in the opening 4 frames, and he's probably just doubled his points tally there. You know, he was 106 before, sorry, 109 before the frame has started. Now it's gone all the way to 204 points that he scores with his break of 95 points, making sure that he's now going to be John Higgins 3, Jack Lisowski 2, and all of a sudden there, the jackpot only finds himself 1 frame away from the wizard, and with still potentially 6 more frames there to be played. It could turn into a bit of an exciting matchup, whether it will or not. It'll probably depend on Jack Lisowski and his mindset. If he's going to try and keep himself all together and steady, then he should still have a really good opportunity to try and take it to John Higgins and just make it anyone's match for the taking at that stage. For now, it still looks like he is going to be struggling a little bit in terms of, you know, just being confident with every single shot there that he gets down to hit. But that's been a lot better because, as I said, there's 2 points there that have been really good about that previous frame, is that he manages to finally win the frame to 0, which is a bonus in itself. Then he's managed to win it with a single break there, with just 1 visit to the table required. And also he's kept John Higgins pretty much in his seat for the entirety of that frame. You know, he's played 1 shot, which, you know, well, 2 shots really, because one of them looked like it was going to be the safety. The second one wasn't really so much of a safety. Left out a long raid for Jack, and yeah, he was able to take that one away, and at last able to utilize the position pretty well. Played it with the green, and that was the only time he used the non-blue or black color on that single break, which was super impressive for how many blues he had to take before actually being able to get through to the black. You know, at that point he hasn't even won the frame, and extra special for him to be taking that one all the way to achieve a break of 95 points. But now, of course, that's in the past, and you need to concentrate on what's going to be ahead of you, and it must be a 6-frame win. Get it back to 3 frames each, and then it's a race to 3 there, with 5 more frames for us to be seeing. And Higgins is not going to be bothered about this one, because, once again, that's always going to be, even in the rule book, if there was a coach there trying to give a bit of a tactic advice to John Higgins, then that's going to be one of the first ones. Expect those frames to be happening there, and just make sure they're not going to be happening after your mistakes. And that wasn't the case in the previous frame, so Higgins can be pretty happy with that one. But a bit of a bad break-off shot here, though. And this time around, it is a long shot given away for Jack. Let's see if he's going to be trying to pop this one. And once again there, you feel like an extra couple of seconds would have saved him. The millimeter that he was missing there to try and hit that red all the way. And of course, you never quite know what's going to happen with long shots. And, you know, it had a really good line, though. That cube was always going to be getting past the black and heading all the way towards the ball colours. Right now, it's going to be a mid-range shot available to Higgins instead, if he's going to be able to place his hand without, you know, being obstructed by the brown. And, well, surprisingly to me, he's decided not to do that. So just try and take a safety shot away. Take the cue ball all the way to the top end of the table. Bounce that one away from the cushion as well. And just try and make sure that the cue ball is going to be in a somewhat safe position there for Jack Lisowski. Not being able to do anything with it. The only long shot that he probably had available to him was the red next to the right corner. And that one is going to be covered up by the brown. So Jack is now just going to be assessing the left part of the table for him to try and make his way through. And at the same time, just being very careful with that cue ball placement. Trying to take it all the way. Really nice line. He's not going to be catching either brown or green with this one. And even though the cue ball was not going to be perfectly placed on the ball cushion, there wasn't a task for it. And with the black not being available, you probably have to limit those long shots to a minimum, unless you feel like there's clearly going to be a way for you to had that cue ball all the way for the blue, which at this stage is not really something that's going to happen by a chance there. It needs to be taken with the right angle, with the right perspective, and the shot to be executed absolutely perfectly. For now, it's not going to be about the long shot opportunity there for Higgins. It's all about just trying to get the cue ball placed safely. And you can see there, he's got a couple of ideas on his mind, but doesn't seem like he's going to be impressed by either one of those. He's probably looking at the corridor right next to the reds of the main pack on the right-hand side of it and trying to get that cue ball past the two reds on the right side cushion. I mean, is he going to be heading for the long shot after all? He wasn't, but that cue ball is going to be very close to the pocket. And is he going to drop? He won't. So just about stops in time there. Let's see what is the availability going to be looking like from Lisowski's point of view in terms of taking one of those reds towards the middle. It seems to be pretty narrow in terms of the options available to him. And, well, I mean, the ideal shot here probably doesn't exist unless you take that cue ball all the way to the right side cushion and place it comfortably ahead of the bulk line, which, I mean, easier said than done, especially with the cue ball being pretty much into the pocket of the right corner. I mean, that's going to be... I won't be surprised from this angle because, we've seen it time and time there from Jack. If he goes for this red into the yellow pocket, I mean, I have to say, right here, right now, it's not the worst case scenario. He's taking that red super well, though. I mean, look at that for a shot. Brilliant. Fabulous spot there from Jack. And he's going to get himself lined up on the green. He was a bit of a all or nothing shot, but in that position, it clearly was the better of a short selection for him. Look at that bit of fancy cueing as well on the green to get that cue ball all the way down the lower end. And well, we started the previous break with the paint with the green, and this time around he's going to be doing that here again, trying to get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner. Look at that once again. I mean, you never get tired of it. And he knew straight away, by the way, I didn't realize it at the time, but before the cue ball even struck the red, he was already up there because he clearly felt that he hit that one well enough to the to the task that he was trying to execute. Long pot success in the last two frames, 5 out of 6 there, in comparison to 3 out of 9 in the previous 4. This time around, he's able to get himself through to the black a lot sooner, making it 100 points exactly without answer from John Higgins' camp. And, well, I said that, make sure, you don't get stressed about those frames there, and the way that Lisowski is always going to be able to get a couple of those frames on the board. Just make sure that, those frames wins are not actually going to come from your own mistakes. The previous frame wasn't. This one, even less so. If this is to be the break that ends the frame there for Higgins, he just has to accept it, and there's absolutely nothing that he could have done. He was very fortunate leaving that cue ball in the pocket, and still Lisowski managed to take it away in a brilliant fashion. Now, he's got a bit of a quiz there ahead of him, and that's certainly going to be a bit of a puzzle that requires high snooker IQ because of, the black being covered up, the pink is now available, and he's got those reds which, I mean, some of them are going to be classified as easy, especially if you take one next to another, all the way to the left corner that I'm talking right now. He can potentially have another plant available to him using another, well, the entire width of the pocket there. Clearly not going to be happy with that one too much. And, I mean, has he messed this one up big time? You feel like that was always going to compromise the cue ball for how much, of that pocket was used there by the pink, and he's going to be fortunate that he can see the red next to the middle, able to put that one away. And yeah, of course, he still would have had an option to go for the red into the corner, but that would have been a bit of a guessing game for him to try and land on the collar because of no clear line available for that cue ball to travel onto. So for now, just take this red away into the left corner, get himself positioned for either pink or the black. Doesn't want to be in between though. And a bit of the cannon that he got on his way to the pink probably helps him. Although, I mean, I'm not sure it actually does help him because I'm a bit surprised that he's taken the pink here. He's managed to take that one pretty well into the pocket, but I mean, he had to do that, otherwise he would have been out of position there. It's a really good shot that by Jack on the paint because, he had the red to bridge over, and at the same time, he needed to make sure that the pink and the positional play was absolutely spot on there. So then once again has got the option of playing for the black or for the pink, making that 130 points without answer. Taking the black in nicely and finally able to clear the red right next to the black, way closer to the left corner. And now this is going to be a bit of a problem time for Higgins. Lisowski's playing pretty well. Very nice shots these last 2 frames. Yes, and you can see the average shot time is going down. Previous 4 frames, well, over the first before the intermission, it was 25 seconds on average. Now it's going to be down to 18 seconds on average, which is really great there when you talk about the way that he had to go on about the business here in this position and just trying to take it all the way. Doing that on the black certainly didn't really help the case in the previous frame, but now we managed to get through to the black pretty quickly. And look at that, brilliant once again. He was risky, but you can't blame him when he makes it work so well for himself. He had 3 reds, probably none of them were available, and a difficult black to be taken as well into the corner. He managed to separate those reds away from each other and pot the black at the same time. 83 now, points available, and well, this was always going to be the thing there with Higgins, and this is why I said he needed to make sure he had that 3-1 of a lead to be taken against Jack Lisowski, because you always have to be ready for those sort of spells there from Jack, and they always seem to come up at very much the wrong time there for you, especially when you are on the receiving end. Well, I suppose there's never the right time for it to come out, unless you're leading by 9 frames to nil, and you've got 70 points of a lead in the final frame as well. And it's a first to 10 match, and by 63 points, yeah, he's about to make it 2 frames without a single pot there for John Higgins, which is very rarely seen on the professional tour anyway. 9 minutes now for this frame. The previous one was 9 minutes as well before, the frame was pretty much done and dusted. Now it's going to be another chance here given away for Jack. He's about to make it 69 points advantage, 67 at the table. So John is going to be looking at the scoreboard, and look at that. You can't beat Lisowski when he's putting 2 reds with the same shot there into both of the corner pockets, left and the right. And he's still going to be lined up nicely for the black here. So can he make it a century break at last? I probably should stop saying that, because the moment I said it in the previous frame, he messed it up. And now he's just done it again, trying to send the cue ball all the way across the table. But now look at that. I mean, that is absolutely outrageous. The long red that he's managed to find despite having to bridge over the yellow. I mean, surely he has got another chance for it to be a century break in the making. He's taken the paint, but he hasn't managed to get this one in. So it's a break of 79 points. You thought about John Higgins potentially coming back to the table, but no reason to be doing that. It's now breaks of 79 and 95, which bring Lisowski right back in this match. And all of a sudden, the match that looked like he was going to be heading for a stroll there towards John Higgins and a comfortable Hawkins against Higgins of a setup. Now, Lisowski certainly remembering that he's got a lot to fight there in terms of the reputation, the trophy, and a little bit of money as well to be motivation for him. And he's managed to get that gap down to a minimum. And John Higgins still remains to be the favourite, but only until Jack Lisowski is able to take that winning streak into 1 more frame for the taking. And you never know. Well, you certainly never know with that stage. You may still be at the situation where Lisowski finds himself as the favourite, because we are now going to be down to the last 5 frames at most, 2 and a bit hours since the match has started. And well, with us playing 6 frames already, impressive. Yes, certainly. I mean, like, that's not even impressive. That's outrageous there. The breaks and the shots that we've seen from Lisowski's execution, some of them have been absolutely extraordinary. If you take them all and put them next to each other, then there's not going to be a surprise that he was able to overturn that horrible performance in the first mini session to a really good performance in the mini session number 2. So now just looking at the way that he's got this one lined up ahead of himself. From Higgins' point of view, I mean, nothing has to change. Nothing needs to change, and nothing can change from his execution point. He's played probably less than 10 shots in those, maybe, well, probably something around 5 shots there that he's played in those 2 frames. So, he's done nothing wrong. He was quite fortunate with, leaving out the reds in the, in the last frame, in the 6-1, but once again, he was still the most difficult long shot that Jack could have potentially taken on, and he still made it perfectly well into the yellow pocket. So, I mean, just concentrate on those chances there, because, I mean, one thing that you mustn't be feeling right now is that Jack is going to be taking this one all the way. The reason why he's got those spells in is that he's still not going to be able to produce this brilliant snooker for the remainder of the match, that's I can tell you. And Higgins just needs to make sure he survives the points of brilliance. And, he may still come in this frame, by the way, because, as much as he was 2 moments of brilliance, the position wasn't really there either. It's just a matter of time until Lisowski goes for something even riskier than that and finds himself leaving out a chance away to Higgins. Now that a break-off is taken, let's see if John is going to have anything available to himself. Looks like he may do have a red available into the left corner now to be taken throughout the entire length of the table here, though. He needs to play this one pretty well. The cue ball has to be played towards the blue, but I tell you what, those are the misses that Higgins doesn't need here. And the red is going to be, well, very much heading towards the left middle. This is exactly the opposite of what I expected to happen in this frame. I expected Lisowski to be doing this. I certainly didn't expect John Higgins to be heading a shot like that. And, the rule number one is, if you go for a risky shot, don't miss it by a mile. Because, the rule probably is going to be against you at that point. If you miss it quite close to the pocket, then it's going to be a fine line. If you play with power, it's never going to stay in the pocket, so it's going to bounce away. But when you miss it by a mile, it's going to be taken along the side cushion for it to be either over the yellow or over the left middle pocket. That turns out to be the case. And, of course, that was the dreamland for Lisowski, because he wasn't really getting those free opportunities anyway in the previous 2 frames. He had to work for those. And now he gets himself a little bit of a freebie. Let's see if he's going to be able to execute it just as well as the previous couple of frames, because now takes it into 200 points without answer, or somewhat close to it. We're going to be into, 200 points there. 75, 95, and now 16 and counting. This is going to be a bit of an issue now for Higgins, because as much as he was the favourite before this frame was started, he probably is not going to be the favourite now. Especially if we're going to see more of that. I mean, that was brilliant. Textbook stuff there from Jack. And once again, the thing that I was mentioning at the start of the match, he's still not taking an extra second on those shots. But with him playing so well, look at that for a show. I mean, makes it look so effortless as well. But he got himself 2 of those reds to be in the open play. And he's still very much looking to try and land a couple more of those reds that he had available to him anyway before the starting point here. Can barely keep up with the scoring board. Using the entire pocket though. Clearly didn't want this one to go all the way to the front jaw. And now, he's not going to be worried about the maximum here, as much as that was a bit of a thing at the back of his mind. Make sure you concentrate on just bringing this frame home. And we haven't seen a couple of maximum, by the way. I've just realised that. We haven't seen one in the World Grand Prix. We haven't seen one in the Players' Championship. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't seen one in the Welsh Open as well. So, a bit of a maxi drought. Ronnie needs to make sure he brings his cue from Saudi Arabia over to the World Open. And then you never quite know. We may still see, triple figures there. If Ronnie decides to play with that cue. And certainly going to be turning up for a bit of entertainment there. 3 frames each and 33 points to nil there. Certainly the story of the second in his session. As Lisowski is able to go for a plant. He's still very desperate. Well, I wouldn't say desperate, but still looking to try and stay on the black for as long as he possibly can. He's taken the plant previously. Is he going to be taking the plant here again? I mean, I'm surprised that he's, played for this plant and then he's looked at it. I suppose he's having just a check there to make sure the red is going to have enough of the pocket for it to be aiming towards. And, probably running himself out of position on the colour with the wrong time here, because as much as he can still try and take the green away, this is not going to be easy at all. And Jack needs to realise that at this stage, he probably needs to be aiming that cue ball all the way into the main bunch of reds. And that's not going to be an ideal case scenario for him going forward. So just tries to absorb all the power instead. Clearly looking to try and find a couple more of those reds. I mean, he's managed to take... This is going to be third plan, by the way, that he's taken with those reds. I never liked those, to be fair, done in a sequence before, because you always feel like, you know, there's a mistake waiting to happen. You've got less control over the way that those reds are going to go. But Jack certainly seems to be an exception to the rules. He's just taking the third one and straight to the heart of the pocket. That probably was the more comfortable that he's taken out of the three of them. So the jinx, or, you know, sort of the reverse jinx, certainly didn't work there, which I'm happy, as I say, for me to see this match taken all the way. I mean, I would need Lisowski to be taking those frames for fun there. And as much as he had a real good chance for him to be taking this one back to square one, right now it is going to be about trying to have a bit of the advantage to himself as well. So 51 points, and still Higgins has got absolutely no control over what's going to be happening at the snooker table here. But this time around, he couldn't blame it on himself for the previous couple of frames. Now he only has himself to blame because of that reckless red. And it wasn't really reckless red, but the way that he was taking that one, it was borderline on stupid, really. Now, points without reply, 238. I mean, to think about, but before this points without reply sequence started, Jack Lisowski was sitting on 103 points. He's now managed to, well, add more than triple the amount of those points. Very much to the scoreboard. Takes another difficult red away into the middle. And he got himself set up with the absolute sitters here. Although, just make sure you don't miss sitters, because you still need to be making sure there's not going to be a complacency issue there in place. You can look at that. Frames 5 to 7, 96 points, percent, sorry, of the pot success there for him. And 71 out of 74 shots that he's managed to make in the sequence of those three frames. Another red disappears into the corner. And finally now, after three brilliant frames, is it going to be a century break for us to be seeing for now? A frame ball about to disappear. And this form of Jack has clearly been unplayable. Something that I probably wouldn't say that we've seen in the Northern Ireland Open. And this probably is going to be giving flashbacks away for John Higgins of the form of Zhao Xington in the last three frames of that final of the well, was it World Grand Prix, or was it the Players' Championship that I'm thinking about? No, it was the Players' Championship last week, where that was taken 7-6 of a difference. And this time around, it's going to be 7 minutes since their frame has started, and yet Lisowski has already managed to confirm that he's going to be the winner of this frame here. About to take the pink into the middle as well, so going for a potential 139 here. Probably one thing that Higgins is going to be able to keep to himself is going to be the high value break that he's had over 144 points. But still, I mean, that has been an absolutely extraordinary performance. And I mean, John Higgins must be pretty happy with the way that he had that 3-1 of an advantage before the intermission. But ever since that point, he didn't score any of those points. And he's got a break of 95, 73 and 96 and counting here. So then the shot for a century of the black for him to try and keep this 138 of a clearance alive. And now it is going to be finally a century break there for the fans to be seeing. And they're about to see loads of drama there, you would feel. Because I'm still very much reluctant to accept that this form is going to be taken all the way into 2 more frames there. Surely there has to be a slow down button, which John Higgins needs to be pressing now. Otherwise, he's going to be the one pressed against the corner and well, pushed out of the semi-final appearance. And that, well, dream of landing himself 150 worth of prize money bonus in thousands of British pounds is still going to be very much alive there for Jack, as he now makes it a break of 116 points. And yeah, he's making this stuff from impressive to absolutely mouth-washing there, because I mean, like, the way that he's making those breaks there looks so effortless. And once again, half an hour ago, he was 3-1 down, maybe on the way to being 4-1 down and knocked out of the tournament. Instead, he managed to turn this one around, and he finds himself here with a break of 131 points that he takes away from John Higgins. And about to finish off in style on the black. It is the perfect break once again, a 138 this time from Jack Lisowski. And I'll tell you what, if someone told you half an hour ago that he was going to be making the breaks of 75, 95, and 138, then you said, are you sure you're not mistaken John Higgins with Jack Lisowski? Well, I bet I'm sure about it now. 4-3 is the lead. 3 frames on the bounce. Can't wait to see the odds now. You know, what was it, 128? I wasn't even checking the odds at 3-1 because of how confident I was that he was going to be. A one-sided match in favour of Higgins. Now it is 150 in Jack Lisowski favour. He only needs 2 more frames for this incredible bonus to be his for the taking. And also, you know, not more and not less. There's a spot in the final for him in the taking. And he can still try and make it all the way if he wins and finds, you know, keeps that form to be rolling for 2 more frame wins there. Right now it's 2.5 hours still. I mean, I say that when he was 4-2 down, or 3-2 down, I should say. Now 2 frames later, it's still very much 2 hours and 36 minutes since the match has got underway. You know, he was never going to be shy in pace. He was probably a bit shy in pace when we've seen the first 4 frames and the intermission to be finished pretty much 2 hours since the match has started. And yeah, I'm not getting those numbers out of nowhere. We genuinely have seen 36 minutes or somewhat turnarounds with, you know, considerable amount of those minutes to be the ones taken in between those frames. But I mean, I was saying to John Higgins, if I was, you know, very much in his camp, don't worry about it. You can't not worry about it now. He just played the first frame where you actually are going to be at fault for that clearance of a 138. Left the red over the middle, but I mean, what can you do about it? You can't not just, you know, not be taking any opportunities at all because you're going to be punished for that anyway. And Jackie's going to be there very much when you make those errors. So it's a loss. It's a no-win situation now for Higgins for now. And he needs to try and use, well, all of his experience to try and turn this thing around and very much make it a match that goes in his favour. For the time being, it is going to be the cue ball, hand it very much back towards John Higgins, and he's about to get his guaranteed shot, which probably is going to be the last of a guarantee that he'll get in this frame here. About to take this one all the way into those reds from the right part of the table. So I'll take it all the way into the left side cushion, try and get that cue ball to be lined up on the ball cushion yet again. So played this shot pretty well. And now count the shots of John Higgins in this frame, because I feel like he should have been counting those on the previous one. I still feel like the previous 3 frames, he's played barely a number of 10 shots there, because he's played 1 in the previous frame. He's played 2 or 3 in the frame before that. And I feel like he would not have played 6 or 7 in the frame that actually got the second mini session on the way. What a turnaround 30 minutes can make sometimes. 3-1 down. And crumbling there for Lisowski, 31 minutes since the last ball time. And of course, it has to be way more than that, because that goes without the intermission of 15 minutes. So, you know, 3/4 of an hour, 3/4 of an hour there of no reds eliminated, no cue ball to be eliminated either for John Higgins. And you take anything now. He's got a red available to him, but I mean, when I say you take anything that is going to be presented to you as a chance. I wouldn't really call this one as a chance, because, you know, the black is not available, which is going to be the perfect colour for you to play off this shot. The pink is going to be limited and probably has to be classified as not available as well. So your best chance is going to be playing for the blue. And when your chance is playing for the blue from this position, and say you don't take the shot at all, he's taken it. Ooh, I mean, he got unlucky with that one, because he was taking that shot pretty well. He was trying to get the red away from the black to make that one potable, but, you know, it was always going to have a bit of a risk involved with that, but that's a really good shot there that he's taken. Now then, is he going to be able to take the black away into the left corner and use the other red next to the black as a breaking point for the cue ball? Try and get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the right corner. So then a bit of backspin needed on the cue ball, but of course you can't be adding this type of spin for the cue ball to be super close to the side cushion. And once again, from one side cushion to another, it is going to be just a bounce from the right to the left part of the table there for the cue ball. The good news is He managed to pot the black and he's still in with a chance. The bad news is, with the way that Lisowski is playing, it's probably going to be down to a one opportunity here. Probably different scenario if you are going to be, losing out on a positional play and just play a safety shot. But you feel like if you miss a red and you leave it over the pocket, or even worse, you miss the color and you still get the position on the next red away, then Lisowski's going to be there to pounce on you and to try and make it even more damage. So already a bit of a incredible campaign in the second mini session so far. Of course, if Higgins makes this one win, well, it is going to be 2 mini sessions of 3-1s of a win from Higgins' point of view first, and then Lisowski responds with the same scoreline. But it's a big if now. Must have been very raw and cold after sitting in his chair for pretty much 40 minutes there without a pot. And, those safety shots don't really count. And, he was trying to do a bit of a sort of remake of Jack Lisowski's campaign, but he's managed to play this one pretty well. I'll tell you that, off the blue, I should say, and closer to the green pocket, trying to have that cue ball to bounce away using all the cue action that he has, and able to get himself lined up nicely on the red next to the left corner. So, it's always going to be down to whoever makes fewer mistakes there, and for now, Higgins seems to have found somewhat of an answer to get himself lined up with that long pot, which, of course, once again, you can't really say anything about Jack there. He didn't have a bad shot that he's played, and yet he was able to find that a very important red for himself, which, once again, if he misses at that stage and the cue ball goes into a mix of reds, he leaves one away. 5-3 written all over the frame. Instead, it's a chance. Higgins still seems to be not quite in the rhythm of Lisowski's previous couple of frames, just taking a bit of extra time on those shots. Of course, not quite pushing it into the Jiangzhong zone though, and just trying to push it away from the black on the cue ball. Played this one pretty well, because as long as it's going to be on the top end of those reds, it doesn't really matter. He's always going to be able to pot them, and just needs to be making sure he doesn't keep that cue ball on the lower end of it, because that's when you need to be using the blue. That leaves room for error for the cue ball on the 2 of those occasions. First of all, when you actually play for the blue, and then even if there is going to be a minor misjudgment on that positional play, it can always come back to be pretty painful for you to be taking the reds or the black away. So now, once again, the black is about to disappear into the left corner. He needs to play this one with a bit of the open pace there, and he has played this one with using pretty much the entire pocket, but doing that in the right side once again, playing to the back end part of that pocket, which you're allowed to touch without compromising yourself too much on the pot, and that allowed him to force the cue ball nicely into those reds. So now it is going to be Jack Lisowski's turn to be just waiting for an opportunity, which may never come there, before this match is going to be taken into 4 frames each of his own as well. We've seen 2 deciders, 2 incredible deciders last week, with Watchalong against John Higgins and Mark Allen against Xiaozington. Well, this time around, we haven't seen a decider in the first match, but we're still very much going the way of, the ending of that first match. But it's a bit difficult to realise on who's going to be Barry Hawkins and who's going to be Weezer, because there was a really good comeback from Lisowski, but he come back from being 3-1 down to 4-3 up, and now all of a sudden Higgins finds himself scoring those points for fun as well. 39 points that he's got of a lead. Still, in total points, it is still going to be a massive advantage to Jack there, but for the simple reason of how confidently he was able to take those breaks away. 95, 138, and 75 points that he's taken away from Higgins at that stage. So then about to take the black away into the left corner, play the cue ball closer to those reds, and get himself into 46 points of a lead, with 99 still at the table. So he's used the blue ball once so far in the break, and he's about to probably use it for the second time here, because of how low he is going to be on the cue ball. So he's going to have to try and force this one to go all the way towards the blue, bounce away from the side cushion, get himself lined up for this blue to be taken. And now 47 points of a lead, about to be converted into another break of 50 plus there from Higgins. And if he takes this one to go the right way for him, he should still have a really good chance to try and battle in the last 3 frames. Potentially, if this one to go the distance, here it could still be one of those 2 players to completely run away with it in the remaining 2 frames and take it with a pretty comfortable win at the end, although the scoreline probably wouldn't reflect that. We still haven't seen any of those realistic chances for a steal there, one way or another. There's been domination from every single one of those frames, especially in the second mini session, with whoever managed to win the frame didn't really give a point away to the opposition player, and Higgins is able to keep himself on this streak, able to get the red, which would have been classified as a very difficult one previously. Still gets himself lined up nicely for the blue to be taken into the right middle. Just once again looking across the table to see where the remaining reds are going to be. They're going to be in a decent position there, especially the next 2 that he can try and take. And at that point, if you take 2 of those away, you play them with a decent value of a colour, you should be lined up with more than 67 points advantage, which is going to be the cut-off point for Lisowski to try and come back with to the table with a realistic chance of trying to steal this one away. So then 58 points of a distance there in between Higgins and Lisowski. About to take this red away into the corner, playing for the black here, I would say, because well, it gives you 2 options there. It depends on how much of the angle you're actually going to get to yourself. You can either try and leave the cue ball to be lined up next to the red onto the black ball cushion, or in his case probably, because he has got the angle, try and force it all the way. And well, surprisingly to me, he's tried to take all the pace away from the cue ball, but look at that for a first shot as well. I mean, he was always committed, by the way, to trying to take that red away from the black, and he seems to have worked out perfectly for him in that stage. Now then, 67 points is going to be the advantage, 67 at the table. So if you take the black away, that will leave Jack to be needing 2 snookers. And once again, I mean, we talked about how quickly he was able to end those frames. I would like to see the frame time here as well, because I bet it's going to be less than 10 minutes, and Jack can't do anything about it. Exactly 10 minutes, perfect timing there. It's just hit 10 minutes as he manages to get 74 points on the board. So now 74 points of a lead, 67 remaining. And he's still going to be 100 points down as it stands on the total point score there in a match. But of course, ultimately, it is going to be brought back to 4 frames each, and still nothing to separate the players when it comes to the scoreline. It is going to be the last 3 frames potentially, and still, I mean, the sequence of a second mini session there has been absolutely extraordinary for how quickly we managed to turn around. You know, taking 2 hours on the first 4 frames, taking less than an hour on the next 4 frames to follow. The black is going to disappear as well. And it's now going to be officially the highest break of John Higgins' campaign here in the semi-final as well. Improvement on the previous break of 73 points. And it's still going for a potential 1-for-1, although that's going to end here. The red is going to stay out. Jack Lisowski is going to stay in his seat, and 82 points of a break, still more than good enough for this one to be taken all the way, potentially a 6-4 win, or even for it to be taken all the way the distance and decided to be seen in between one of those 2 players. And I'll tell you what, the decider is still going to be played in the second mini session, so you'd expect that one to be played pretty quickly. In the meantime, it is now going to be down to just an opportunity presented here to either Higgins or Lisowski. So for now, those ones seems to be taken pretty well, especially from Higgins' point of view, quite recently, where he was able to just make himself absolute king of that position. And yes, he wasn't able to take it into a 3-digit of a break, but still, he's done the work. He doesn't need to be focusing on that. He's got the highest break of the tournament anyway, so he's not going to be trying to chase Mark Selby down for the centuries record in this season. That's going to be down to Jousington, potentially Neil Robertson as well. And he's going to be way down that list, by the way. I mean, where is Higgins? For how many finals he's managed to reach this season? He's not even in the world 20. Unless I've missed him. He's got 19 centuries this season, which is really weird to me. I mean, Ronnie O'Sullivan has got 24, and he's barely featured in some of those tournaments. Joe Connor's got 27, which probably is going to be the most surprising appearance in the top 15. And Chang Min-Yu's got 38, but that's no surprise the way he plays the game. Ding Zhuyi 25, Elias Sessa 19, Chris Wakelin going to be joining there as well. Yuan Sijun's got 20, alongside David Gilbert with 21. I mean, I suppose it's just not the style that John Higgins needs to be taking, and it's all about, when you reach those business ends of those tournaments, it's all about getting over the line. It's not really going to be about, I'm going to be making a break of 100 points there just to prove someone wrong about it. And yeah, I mean, the impressive thing about this one is that all the players are going to be equally as much of a sort of cancelling themselves out for how well they've managed to play in the second mini session. And certainly now is going to be the scoreline reversed and completely reversed of a performance. 3-1, Higgins was able to take the first mini session, probably completely fair, a reflection of the scoreline. And you have to say exactly the same thing about the next 4 frames that followed, because there's nothing unfair that Lisowski managed to achieve in the first 3 frames before he got himself into a 4-3 of the lead. And then Higgins, fair and square, produced another break, which was going beyond the value of 70 points. And got himself back to 4 frames each there, so all square. So then, is he going to be 2 more frames for either one to take it to the final, or is he going to be going very much the full distance? And, a decider for us to be seeing. John Higgins had a decider in the semi-final of, I'm pretty sure he had one at the Masters, where he was super close to getting himself over the line. I'm pretty sure he had one just now at the Players' Championship, both of them to come against Judd Trump. And maybe another one unloading there. I do actually want to have a look at how many deciders he's got in the semi-finals this season. It's probably not something that you should be doing at the start of a frame, so I'll do that later on. But for now, it's a potential bad shot there that he gets displayed. Let's see if this red is going to be available for Jack. And he was. But once again, just like it was at the start of the second or third frame, it is the red taken nicely, but the cue ball taken even nicer into the yellow pocket. Now, 4 points given away to John Higgins. And I feel like the only 12 points that I can think of that have been foul points have been 3 pots over the cue ball. And incredibly, on each and every single one of them, the red was spotted as well. Higgins flukes the red into the wrong pocket and has the cue ball to follow it as well. Then we've got Lisowski to be taking the red into the middle, getting that, into the exactly same middle, and taking that cue ball into the right corner at the start of the match. And now he's managed to do the same thing here. But a ball in hand is going to be very handy indeed there for Higgins. Ooh, let's see if he's just about managed to play this one well enough. He got the brilliant red in, but does he have the ability to try and get this black in as well? Ooh, I tell you what, he's close, but I feel like he's got the margin there to be seeing the black in a way that he needs it to be taken all the way. And once again, I mean, as much as I was saying that that form of Lisowski wasn't playable, I mean, you probably have to say the same about John Higgins in the previous frame. And, well, who knows? Maybe it's going to be one of those matches where you just have flawless performances there. 4 frames with, the winner of the frame defeating the opposition by a scoreline to 0. 82, 75, 95, 138. What's going to be next? It's not going to be a maximum here, I'll tell you that for sure. Though it still can be, to be fair. I was just reading the points of 13, which of course came from a foul shot. So technically it could still be. Unlikely, but you never quite know. No reds on the cushions. And he got himself the first 2 sequence of the black and the red to be potted. Still got a couple more of those, so certainly have to be thinking about chance worthy of a frame-winning opportunity there for John to try and take it all the way. Just want to see very quickly. It's 128 now for him to be the winner of this frame. Probably fair. 350 for Jack. Yeah, especially with how little mistakes we've seen in the duration of the frame. Just to say that, I mean, once again, Jack Lisowski fans, don't have to say thank you. I just do it accidentally, but I've got the perfect jinx power. Just as I say, there have been no mistakes made. The red is made, but the position on the black is completely messed up. So Jack should be coming back to the table, unless there's going to be the blue that Higgins attempts to pot. It's not really his style of a pot. Oh, I'll tell you what, he is taking this one on. this can go wrong, and he has gone wrong. I don't know why he would be going for a shot like that. I mean, he clearly was disappointed with him being unable to try and get himself lined up on the black. And, well, 128 or not, it's now going to be the break of 17 points. And the black is going to be out of position, though, so there's going to be something for Jack Lisowski to consider. But something for him not to consider is that he needs to be taking his foot off the gas pedal. He's just trying to take it into the next gear. And, well, he was able to do it for a second, but then the back end of the car just stepped out and said, you can take the red in with a brilliant shot, but are you going to be on the colour? Well, he seems to be confident about taking the brown. Let's see if he's going to make it all the way. Yes, he has. Made it all the way. Now just trying to get that cue ball down the lower end of the table. Managed to do that. And look at that. This could be the perfect setup for Jack, because he just put the brown onto the black ball spot. Something that you very rarely see on the snooker table. But this is going to be perfect because apart from, 3 points of a difference after every single red and the brown combination, it's not really going to matter, because the thing that matters is going to be the position of the colour to be perfectly on the black ball spot. The black is not going to be a danger ball at all. And he just needs to concentrate on bringing that cue ball once into the main pack and trying to disrupt those reds perfectly away from each other. Now, is he going to be able to do it? Ooh, like, it's a good effort, but you'll probably have to settle for a really difficult shot into the yellow pocket. But, I mean, he got those reds to spread out, which is nice. He just didn't really land on any one of those. And, of course, that's going to be the downside of playing for the brown. He's still going to find himself 11 points behind there, despite taking two reds and 2 colours there. So then, does he take this red on? Well, I know the answer, but does he make this one in? Does he actually get this one to drop into the pocket? We'll have to find out. Not really a big fan of someone moving in the crowd as soon as he was taking that shot on. It's not really something that you want to be seeing in your eye line. Just ask Ronnie O'Sullivan. But the red has managed to disappear nicely into the pocket. I don't know why I wasn't reacting more excited there, because it was a brilliant shot. Probably just used to those shots disappearing. And once again, I want to see 89%, 8 out of 9 there. Long pot success in frames 5 and 9. Incredible turnarounds for Jack Lisowski, because in the first 4 frames, he had 3 out of 9, 33%. Right now, he's managed to step it up in the second mini session. And he genuinely, had a bit of a potion or something to drink in that intermission, but he came back as a very different player and a very different man to perform at the arena. I just realised that I've done that with Higgins before, and I didn't want it to be a jinx, but clearly just working on Higgins there, he would seem. So now finds himself only 1 point away, about to take this point with a red into the corner, and get himself lined up for the brown to be taken into the right corner. So then 21 points each, 4 frames each, but ultimately advantage to Jack Lisowski, because if he gets those 5 reds in, as much as they're not going to be taken with the black, though, they're going to be taken with the brown. So does he need that last red, which is currently sitting onto the left side cushion? And is he going to be just one mistake from John Higgins in, well, probably 2 mistakes in the entirety of 5 frames there that we played? And yet he's going to lose 4 of those frames, it would seem. One of them, of course, was leaving out a red over the pocket in probably the 7th frame. No, it was the 7th frame for Jack to be getting a 4-3 of a lead. Now, once again, getting the pink in, which certainly helps, which, once again, Jack is going to be aware, better than I am, that he needs those reds to be taken with a pink to ensure he doesn't have to worry about that red next to the left side cushion too much. Now he's going to be doing the maths here. So then, he's got 12 points of an advantage. He's about to take the pink as well, which will get him into an 18 points of a lead. And then if he takes the remaining 3 reds with the pink there, yeah, he should be comfortably clear of the not needing that red. And, well, I forgot about it, but that's an atrocious shot to be taking on there. The blue, pretty much the entire length of the table that he needs to cover. I mean, there was no need for it. And also, I can't say that John Higgins was absolutely flying through those long shots. Yes, he's taken a couple of really good reds, but, I mean, there's always going to be a difference of you taking a red and taking a colour, because when you take a colour, you're playing for a red. So if you miss it, you're always going to leave something away to your opponent. And now was the thing for him to consider. Clearly didn't consider enough there to, not take that long blue away into the green pocket. Now just once again checking if he's going to be able to stay on the brown here. Of course, when I say he's going to be comfortably clear, was me adding up those points for him to play it with a pink. And he's now about to take one of those reds with a pink. So now 24 points of a difference. So he needs to be taking these red with a pink there twice. He's about to do it now. Although it's a bit of an awkward placement for him in terms of that cue ball and the cue as well. And, he wants to be slightly down the lower end of this red. And it looks like he's managed to play this shot absolutely perfectly. So then 30 points of a difference. 43 remaining. That's going to get down to 35 when the red disappears, which he should, for how well he's played this positional shot previously. So then he's going to be down to just taking the brown. Will guarantee himself a respot, Barry Snookers, but he's played this one quite badly wrong. And he clearly was playing for the pink to be taken into either one of the four main pockets. Looks like he's going to have to take a plan B now into consideration. And to be taking this one all the way towards the yellow pocket. But once again, beautifully played there by Jack. Didn't even try to play on the red by the left side cushion. But he probably will still try and make this one in. Tournament total points are going to be 201 there. Tournament ball spotted 590. So it is now going to be still a very good break and a very important break to punish John Higgins for that mistake on the blue. I don't know why it says, sorry about that. I don't know why it says there's going to be points left 43. It's certainly not going to be the case. Let me just try and get this one sorted. Here we go. So he's got 58 points there, Jack. And he's got 21 points there, John Higgins. But I would have been fixing that for nothing. He's left the red over the pocket there for Jack Lisowski here, John Higgins. And as long as he takes a little bit of time, just making sure that nothing was distracting him behind the scenes in the crowd. That might have been the reason why he's gone up from that shot, but it still clearly hasn't distracted him enough there. And look at that. A brilliant reaction from the crowd this time as he's able to get the red in. And now Jack Lisowski is going to be only one frame away from going all the way to the final of the Whole Nation Series twice in a single season there. He didn't have a good campaign at the Scottish Open whatsoever, but after a triumph in the Northern Ireland, he seems to have come back ever stronger. And he's now able to get a bit of a total clearance going on potentially. The brown is going to be the only colour off his spot. And let's see if he's managed to play this one well enough. He hasn't, so just try and get the contact on the brown. And he's able to do that. So maybe just trying to flick this one into the left middle. That won't be the case. And it's now going to be 5-4 advantage to Jack Lisowski. That will make his way potentially one last time out of the arena. But what a comeback it has been. Able to win 4 out of the last 5 frames that he's played. And the one that he wasn't able to, he couldn't do anything about. It was the pure moment of brilliance from John Higgins. But it's been the second mini session of brilliance from Jack Lisowski that now finds himself only one frame away from setting up an Old English final here at the Whole Nation Series. And I tell you what, I certainly would not have expected either one of those players to be in the final. John Higgins was always going to be there in the mix for me. But right now, it is advantage Jack Lisowski that can try and take it all the way once again for him. And if he does make it very much to the final, then you have to say fair play, because a 3-1 down, I was the one screaming and shouting, he's not playing well, he clearly is not interested. But one thing I did actually say, make sure that Higgins is going to be winning those frames, because there's always going to be a chance that there is going to be the prime Jack Lisowski that comes back, the one that we've seen against Algodon, the one that we've seen against Stuart Bingham, and the one that has managed to defeat Jackson Page 4 frames to 2, having that sequence of frames where he was able to be absolutely unstoppable, feeding off a couple of mistakes from his opponents. Yes, that hasn't been the case so far today, apart from that. Well, to be fair, has that not been the case? The blue, that was recklessly missed into the green pocket with a long shot. The red, that was missed in a really bizarre way and put over the middle, which followed a break of 138 points. Higgins has not been flawless today, and he needs to be flawless now in the remaining 2 frames for him to be the winner. And he's taken the previous couple of semi-finals all the way. And now the fans in the corner certainly going to be pushing Jack Lisowski all the way here because, well, we've seen a repeat of 2 identical scorelines in those 2 semi-finals at the Players' Championship. Could we see a story to repeat itself this time around with 10 out of potential 11 frames to be played in both of those semi-finals? For now, it's certainly looking like that for Jack Lisowski, only 1 frame away from getting that 200,000 worth of a paycheck for purely appearance in the Welsh Open, because of course he came up to this tournament still being in the equation alongside the likes of Wakelin, Allen, Watchalong didn't really play, so not really him. Joey Long, Mark Selby was probably the only other player apart from the winners of the Home Nations events that was able to try and land the 150,000 worth of Home Nations bonus. Very much next to their name. And ooh, I'll tell you what, this is a bit of a weird break off that by Higgins. The good news for him, he's managed to leave out an easy red to be covered up by the yellow. The problem is, he's managed to leave another one of those reds to be available there for Jack. Let's see if he's going to be able to take it straight away. He's gone down and hit it. And, well, I mean, that was a difficult shot, to be fair. And I'm not going to say he was never making that into the pocket for how impressive he's been playing in the recent couple of frames. Once again, it's a chance. The only one that wasn't taken in the second mini session so far is actually going to be in the previous frame. A break of 17 points to add to 4 points given away by Jack after dropping that cue ball, as well as spotting the red. It's now going to be a red left over the pocket there for Higgins. So, I mean, could he try and make another mini comeback of his own? Because right now, for the first time in the match, apart from maybe when he was 4-3 down, he finds himself as the underdog. For him to reach that semi-final of 2018 to be reignited and very much replayed there. Barry Hawke is looking to try and seek revenge there. You know, Higgins wasn't able to take it all the way to Williams. He lost out 18 frames to 16. Hawkins won't really care about that one. He's going to have his eyes on the Ray Reardon Trophy. Very much there for the taking at the end of the Sunday night. Putt success, really equal stats there. 91 for Higgins, 90 for Lisowski. And long putt success, 82% for John Higgins, 62 for Jack. But that's probably going to be, once again, just take into account how many of those long shots have actually been taken by John Higgins and how many of those have been taken by Jack Lisowski as well. Highest break, still a massive advantage to Jack. And he's the one leading this frame. I mean, leading the match, sorry. 5 frames to 4. But he's not going to be leading this match, though. This frame, though. We got that one completely wrong. 381 points scored by Higgins. 492 scored by Lisowski here. Ball spot 110, 148. So that probably makes sense. There's not going to be a lot more of anything to talk about. Average shot time, though, that's massive advantage to Jack. Pretty much 33% faster he plays those shots with. 19 seconds as opposed to 28 seconds taken by John Higgins. Once again, he's going to be down to the break of 17 points. Remember what happened in the previous frame. Unforced error on the blue. He's going to be lined up for the blue. But this time around, it's not going to be to the green pocket. It's going to be nicely taken into the right middle there, you would feel. And just try and take that cue ball all the way down to the remaining reds, which we're still going to see 12 off. 11 in the main pack, and then one more to be close to the black ball cushion. There still needs to be making sure that the cue ball is going to travel right into the mix of those reds. So just play the shot with a bit of power, and well, I mean, I said the calamity happened on that blue last time around into the green pocket. I said this one should be taken nicely into the right middle, and I didn't just remember that one for no reason. It just had the setup for that, didn't it? That something could have gone wrong, but I didn't even take it into account because I thought that blue was so difficult to miss. And you should not be doing that in the semi-final of such a huge event there. Unforced errors 5. He only had a couple more since the first couple of frames there, but ultimately he's got those unforced errors to be creeping in at the worst possible time. It's now going to be, once again, the end of a break there for John Higgins, just like it was in the 9th frame. And Lisowski was able to have a break of 58 points, which killed the frame there for him. Now let's see if he's going to have somewhat similar of a break for it to be taken all the way, and a 6-4 win to be his for the taking. Oh, the pink, is he going to stay out? He will stay out, so straight away, tournament response success 73%. It's about to go down to 69% there for Jack. And as much as Higgins will be relieved to come back to the table, I'm not sure he's got loads of options there for him to choose from. I mean, if the pink is not covering enough of that pocket, he may be able to go for the red right next to that pink and just try and take it into the left corner anyway, because it's still going to be used as a massive advantage there for Higgins, because if the pink is over the pocket, the pink spot is available, and you can see it, he's clearly got the chance of taking this red into the corner. One shot there that Jack Lisowski needed to pull out of the bag, he wasn't able to do so, and now is it going to be John Higgins to try and do it from the second time of asking? It looked like he was going to be a perfect story to be written for Jack. Doesn't seem to be that way now. And he may need that 11th frame to be announced as the winner. And of course, you never know what's going to happen in that decider. But for now, he's got a better chance of winning decider than winning this frame, because he's not going to be 17 points down when the frame starts. And also, he's not going to have an easy chance to be going away to his opponent. Now 23 points of an advantage, as the pink is going to disappear into the left corner. Get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the right corner as well. The minor problem, I would say, is going to have to be the factor of, the pink and the black not being available straight away. So you need to work for this one. The blue is out of position as well after that horrible miss from John Higgins. But remember, he's missed the pink as the match ball against Jump. That didn't really stop him from, that was in the 10th frame, that didn't really stop him from still winning that decider away and taking it into a 6-5 of a win before losing out to Zhao in the final of the Players' Championship. Now 24 points is going to be the difference in between those two players. Higgins is still looking to try and get the pink into the left corner. Ideally, he wants that cue ball to be away from those reds just to clear the pink spot even more. And he hasn't played for that, but he's played it pretty well in the open gap which was there for the taking. And now about to take himself into another red into the corner. And this time around, he shouldn't do anything. He shouldn't invent anything to try and get the position on the pink to be sorted. Just try and take that one normally into the middle. Get yourself lined up with a 31 points over distance. And then he still has got a chance to try and close that gap down for it to be absolutely nothing before the start of the 11th frame. So for now, the pink is, probably sees John Higgins as the massive favourite for this frame to be taken now, because he's got 3 easy reds. He's got 37 points of an advantage as well. And he's gone beyond of the points of missing that blue when 17 points clear. Of course, Jack had taken a red after that, but unable to take the pink into the corner, which seems to have cost him quite badly. But once again, it's all about, when you make those mistakes, your opponent has to be there to step up. Higgins makes a mistake, Lisowski's there, but he's not there to step up. And now, on top of that, 17 points scored previously at the start of this frame, he's got a break of 28 points and counting to try and take it all the way. This semi-final still probably going to be approaching and now gone over the 3-hour mark since the starting point. But this one has certainly been a great entertainment provided by both of the players, and probably the only fair outcome is going to have to be a decider, and may the best man win. But Jack Lisowski has got so much at stake in terms of prize money. John Higgins has got so much of the experience when it comes to the deciders, and 11th frame against the Englishman in the semi-final appearance. Done it at the Masters, beat Judd Trump. Done it at the Players' Championship, beat Judd Trump. And now, can he try and do it to Jack Lisowski as well? Before that, he's looking to try and land a decider first and foremost. Now, he's got 51 points of an advantage, 75 remaining. So just looking to try and get the red into the right corner here. Take that cue ball away from the ping and get the white to be lined up on the ping nicely here once again. But I did say that he's got so many of those reds, but that was in the past. Now he's managed to take all of those reds away there. So let's see how many more of those he actually can try and play for. Because I'm actually a little bit surprised that he's taken this far for him to sort of realise that he's got no more clean reds ahead of himself. And he needs to try and work with the position that he's got ahead of himself there. So then, is he going to be just trying to get that cue ball to be resting onto the black ball cushion? Because that's the only outcome that I can see working out from Higgins. And he's tried to play it that way. Certainly doesn't seem like he's going to be bothered with him being slightly further away from the red, which he probably would have planned. Still looking at the scoreboard, 58 points ahead there, 67 to the table. So, if he takes the red, Lisowski can only force a respot, but he should have the ability to try and play for the pink as well. So then take all the pace away from the cue ball and just make sure you get just a bit of the distance, to be fair. So maybe don't take all the pace away from it in case you miss the red. It's not going to be missing of reds here. And it does look like it is going to be semi-final, decider bound. Just needs to take the pink away for Jack. Clearly not having the opportunity to be coming back to the table with the realistic hope. He's taken the pink away. Ideally, would have loved to be on the red after it as well. But now, 65 points of an advantage. I mean, is he going to benefit Jack Lisowski if he comes back to the table? With the way the position is set up. I mean, he always has to fight back there, but I'm not sure it's going to do him a lot of justice there. But in the meantime, Higgins can still try and cut one of those reds into the middle. And he decided not to do that. So, the moment of truth, Lisowski probably has to come back for it to be a semi-final stage, but he finds himself straight away in a bit of a difficult position there to even play a safety shot. So then, 65 points behind, 59 points remaining, 2 snookers needed. You know, it's always a snooker and a free ball in the red. And, I mean, unless he's had a look and seen that the black is going to be covering the posing angle for the red, which clearly was the reason why he was having a look over. He's made that show on purpose to just leave the cue ball closer to those reds. But in the end, not quite close enough for John Higgins to be doing anything with those reds. So let's see, what's it going to be then? Is it going to be taken all the way there to decide that? Or is there going to be another incredible twist from John Higgins this time? And is he going to be able to take this one, the distance, and try and put a little bit of pressure back onto Jack Lisowski's shoulders? For now, he needs to try and figure out the way for him to send his cue ball away from those reds. And he decided to do the opposite, really. Just send one of those reds to be to the top end of the table. The cue ball to be staying right at the lower end of it here. So the double, potentially back into the main action of the pack. Just wants that red to be staying next to the black ball cushion. Doesn't want this one to be possible from Higgins' point of view. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be touch and go there. In terms of if Higgins can see enough of this red. But even if he can, he probably is not going to be heading towards any risks there for now. It doesn't need to. And just send that cue ball across. Once again, force Jack Lisowski to be the one taking the risks. And you may do that now, because he technically can afford to be taking one of those reds with the pink. So let's see if he is going to try and do it. He has tried to. He's missed that red though. And he has given that red away to the green pocket, although the cue ball's gone quite close to the side cushion at the same time. So it's not quite going to be as free-flowing and straightforward as you would have thought for it to be in favour of John Higgins. Now then, 65 points clear. Is he going to be taken all the way? And is he going to be right now? He will be. So we are going to be seeing a guaranteed decider there. And now 65 points of an advantage in favour of John Higgins. 66 points of an advantage in favour of John Higgins. Only 51 at the table. There's not going to be any points for Jack to continue this one. And just making sure that Jack is happy to concede. And Higgins himself going for the bathroom break for one last time. We're going to see the players walk out of the arena. But the next time one of them will walk out, he'll certainly be the finalist and be joining Barry Hawkins in that clash of, well, the UK, I would say. Certainly of the Commonwealth, because of either being Team Scotland against Team England there, or it being an all-English derby. And in the meantime, now you can have a look at the stats. Highest break, 138 points there by Jack, achieved in the 7th frame there, it would seem, by the point that it was only the second time in this match where he was able to take himself ahead of John Higgins. 5 frames to 4 and 4 frames to 3. By the way, thank you for everyone tuning in right at the death of this match. Feel free to hit the like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. We're still going to have 2 sessions of the final going on tomorrow. Whether it's going to be Barry Hawkins against Higgins or it's going to be Hawkins against Lisowski, we'll have to wait and see. Just one more frame to separate those 2 players. But which way is it going to be? And the way that these 2 players are actually going to be trying to play this deciding frame next to each other there. Now just still waiting for them to come back to the arena. But this has been a really interesting match to be watching because you never knew what was going to happen at the start of it. And now you've got absolutely no clue the way this one is going to be finishing as well, because you've got 180 for the odds for John Higgins to be the winner, 2.0 for Jack Lisowski. I mean, we've seen as low as the odds as 150 for Jack. 128 I've certainly seen in favour of John Higgins. I feel like it would have been a lot lower by the point that he had a 3-1 lead. Because I had a bit of a turnaround since then. But now it all comes down to the next 147 points to be played in between those 2 players. And let's see which one of them is going to come out on top and join Hawkins in the final. There is going to be a handshake in between the players. And it's Jack Lisowski that probably has a slight disadvantage here with him playing the break-off shot. With so many of those, chances conceded previously on those break-off shots. Now then, the referee announced it, and it is going to be the deciding frame for Jack Lisowski to break off. Has he managed to get that cue ball away? Nice and easy. Yes, he has. He got the black to be covered up as well. So we have got a bit of a, deciding frame drama very much lined up for us. You can see deciding frame win percentage in this season, 83% for Higgins, 46% for Jack. Well, that's going to be advantage Higgins from the get-go. In terms of, stats don't really lie to you. But now, what's he going to be doing with this red? He's not going to be able to try and play for the black. But can he try and push it all the way for the blue? Nope, he's not even going to try and attempt a fade there. And it feels like he's just trying to do the nice thing there, to be fair, because he's basically inviting Jack Lisowski to be getting himself a free shot of trying to free up the black there, which is going to be benefiting both of the players. For now, is he going to be taking the first long shot away? Ooh, it's going to be close. It's not quite going to be close enough, though. And has he managed to get away with this one? To an extent, he has. Because he hasn't left the same red away into the yellow pocket, it would seem. Though I would still need to see a different angle of that. He may just about get past the yellow and the red. No, he won't. So the first impression that he gave me was the right one. But he still has got a mid-range shot to be taking along the right side rail. But with the black not being available, which is going to be such a problem for either one of the players to try and get themselves started on the break. So then, is he going to be able to take this one all the way to the blue? He won't be. And now, where's the red going to finish? He's pushed one of those reds to be available there to Jack. And the red that he's missed has gone over the line there of the cue ball. So then, it does look like it is going to be the second chance straight away to be given to Jack. Still, it's a bit of a weird position to be seeing in a decider. He's trying to take this one all the way into the middle. And one thing is for certain, this decider is going to be taken in the way that the previous 10 frames have been. A very quick fire style of a match, especially ever since that intermission of a break. Although, Lisowski straight away there, under on slightly for the red. Probably looking to get rid of the 3 reds at the top end of the table first. Managing to clear the first one. And he's got 6 of those reds available. If you combine the one that he's managed to pot, 2 more at the top end and 3 more at the lower side of it as well. Might see 1 more right next to the pink as well. So that's going to be some of those points to try and take away from Higgins. And especially take nothing for granted in the decider, especially for how close it could have been for Jack to be taking that mistake from Higgins in the previous frame to be converted into something special in a frame win at that stage. But now he's about to get himself lined up for the blue to be taken into the middle. Who needs that cue ball to keep running. Ooh, he may have put himself in all sorts of trouble now. he's going to have the red next to the black available. But I'll tell you what, this is not going to be the perfect shot for him to be taking on, especially for how little he's got control over the colours. And, well, I mean, is the pink going to be potable? Because he's managed to get that red in. He's going to be desperate to try and stay on this break, though. I mean, the pink is not going to be available. Can he try and take it with the black? I mean, he's clearly left one of those reds at the top end of the table for those sort of shots there. Look at that. Brilliant taking for the black. Is he going to have the cue ball position, though? I mean, slightly fortunate, but he seems to just have this position to be completely getting out of hand there for him. And as much as it's enjoyable when you're, getting those difficult shots in, at some point you're going to miss one of those reds or colours. And, I mean, he got that one clean into the heart of the pocket there. I thought that was going to be the shot there. I'm surprised with myself I didn't call it before he's played it, but the black and the red that he's taken was super impressive there. And now can he try and steady the ship from here onwards? He's got the black available. Well, he wasn't going to steady the ship and just go for the points and the percentage shot. Has he managed to get himself a chance here? Because he's trying to play that cue ball straight into the bunch there. Not sure that was the right decision. We'll have to find out in a bit of a moment's time. Because if he's got this red available to be taken into the left middle, then it's going to be all down to just a pure factor of, just getting this red in, get yourself on the ball colour, and that from that point onwards, you should have a really good chance of taking it all the way. The red is going to be in. Now, is he going to be on the colour? Oh, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be applauding that. He got the red in, but the funny part seems to be about to unfold there. He's not on the brown. He's super close, but he's not on the brown. So it's green or nothing. And it's green that has to be taken into the yellow pocket. So this is probably just about as nasty as the previous shot. But look at that. Brilliantly taken. Now, can he finally find himself on the red? The answer is no, he can't. And, well, hanging on there. Hanging on to those opportunities there, Jack. Just a matter of time. You feel like he is going to give an error, a mistake of some sort there. But for now, he's still flawless with those brilliant shots that he's taken. Another red that disappears into the middle. Now he's played this one for the brown. John Higgins still has to be hoping for an opportunity to come his way. But Lisowski finally seems to have steadied the ship perfectly well. And now 35 points advantage to go with it. Only 99 points available there, remaining at the table. So, is he going to be the cluster of reds next to the pink that he's going to be looking at? Or is he going to try and disrupt those two reds next to the blue? Either one's probably going to be a bit of an issue there in terms of disrupting the colours. But you feel like the fact that he's got the black available probably is going to be a great boost there to his chances. And clearly going to be playing for the pink or the black here. He's decided to try and pay for the pink, which makes sense because of the angle that he's left himself with. Trying to force the red right next to the pink spot, away from it. But needs to concentrate on leaving the cue ball enough there to be set up for the red to be taken into the right corner. Now he's got 42 points of advantage. Oh, I'll tell you what, just as I said, it looks like the pink is going to be in the way of one of those reds to be taken. So he needs another great mid-range shot to be taken, this time around into the green pocket. He's got the line. Does he have the technique? Yes, he does. Just about has got the technique to roll that red without touching too much of the front jaw, which are going to be slightly more forgiving towards the corner pockets. Now then, seems to have done all that hard work so many times previously. About to get himself lined up with a 48 points of a gap. And just whatever you do, don't be thinking about that 150,000 worth of a bonus prize money. Just concentrate on 6 more shots, and at that point, it is going to be mission impossible for Higgins to be coming back to the table. And for once, it does look like the decider is going to be heading the way of completely the opposite of John Higgins. I mean, I probably wouldn't be saying that just now, but I will be in a couple of shots' time. It's now 3 shots for Jack, and he is going to be lined up with a frame win, and therefore the match win very much being his for the taking. And it was a wonderful comeback for Higgins, but it's now down to Jack making it right for the 2 more shots there. He got the black in, so a red needed, and that will leave John Higgins to be needing a snooker to try and find. They always call him the wizard. for how well he plays those deciders, but now it is going to be all about the story for Jack Lisowski, and this has been a decider to remember from him because, I mean, what a way for it to be taken all the way, and still Jack is going to be the player to come out on top there. 72 points. No way that Higgins is going to have any need to come back to the table. Wow, certainly didn't expect, especially for how difficult this position has been. And you can see how much it means to him at the end. I thought he was going to hold this one together, but, you know, 73 points. He knows that there's not going to be a chance for Higgins to be coming back to the table. And by the way, talk about nerves of steel. To do that with a break of 78 points in the semi-final decider, and could still be lined up for a potential century break. And is it going to be a century break? It won't be, but there's certainly going to be a handshake in between the players. John Higgins will have loads of great words to say to Jack Lisowski that will be still going for that incredible, well, 2 wins of the Home Nation Series. And now he certainly managed to do it here. And he's going to be the finalist of the Welsh Open. And it's now going to be Jack Lisowski or Barry Hawkins for it to be taken all the way. I decided this time around, it looked like it was going to be the king of those, John Higgins, to be taking Barry Hawkins in the final. In the end, it is going to be an all-English derby. And Jack Lisowski acknowledges the crowd that certainly have played their part. And Jack is going to be enjoying himself there. So still trying to take it all the way with a 6-5 win. And let's see, who's it going to be there? Is it going to be Barry Hawkins? Is it going to be Jack Lisowski? And Jack has certainly surprised me. He surprised me as well. 3-1 down. How on earth has he managed to win this match with 6 frames to 5? Thank you everyone that has managed to tune in. Feel free to be tuning in back for the final as well. We'll be doing both of those sessions, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, but the poll was as much as 92% before the matches started, but we certainly have seen an absolute cracker of a semi-final. And, well, for once, we've seen a decider in the semi-final that John Higgins wasn't able to win. He wasn't going to get an easy chance away. He didn't really get any sort of a chance away. And good man certainly for Jack. Congratulations to him, commiserations to John Higgins, and for once, even though Weezer was out of the tournament, all the players from China were out as well, he's still not going to be, not meant to be for now, for John Higgins to be getting this ranking event tournament won this season, but could it be the first one for Barry Hawkins in a long time, or could it be back-to-back Home Nations wins there in those tournaments for Jack Lisowski? In the end, we'll have to find out and see for ourselves. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you around in 2 sessions of the final. Jack Lisowski against Barry Hawkins. Stay tuned in. He'll be certainly a one to keep an eye out for.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind